afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
I always say that we all decide what to do, when to do, and what to do the best way. So we all decided in the second attempt we will do the best way. But unlike that, we will do and finish the event in a very structured and stylish manner in the first attempt. May I have the permission to start, sir?
Please, sir, please go ahead.
So, I will introduce myself so that I am not a stranger to all of you. I am Commandant Pradeep Kumar Kushwaha, an Indian Coast Guard veteran with 29 years of experience, and I am very proud to stand in front of you. I am grateful to ISAR and Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry to give me this opportunity to steer the proceedings. Without taking any further time, first of all, I will request Sanjay Amolkar, Director General GCCI, to come on stage and please proceed.
Someone goes for presently. I'm keeping this over. Yeah. Already done?
प्रेजेंटेशन कौन से लैपटॉप
And Mahesh Patil, Chairman, Goa State Pollution Control Board. At the same time, I would like to invite Harsha, MD, ISCSR. Now, moving further,
People recognize
first, Director General GCCI Sanjay Amolkar sir. He has been an expert in the field of port management, importing various things before this over more than 2 decades, wherein he was involved actively across the country, importing the finished products, and not an easy job managing the port sector. Thereafter, since last 1.5 years plus, sir has been at helm of this association and giving his wisdom and vision to take forward. And with his vision, we have got this event going and we are all present here. So big round of applause for sir. Now, I will introduce Ms. Harsha, Managing Director, ISSR Group for taking the lead and global stride for capacity building of Indian students, professionals in the emerging field of sustainability and ESG, environment, social and governance. Without our vision, we won't have been having such a courses in Goa, and it is indeed privilege to begin. Now, I will request Sanjay Amolkar sir to facilitate Mahesh Patil sir with a token of love in the form of bouquet. And I also request Ms. Harsha to present a bouquet to Sanjay sir. Yeah. Now, I request Sanjay Amolkar sir, Director General CCI, to come on stage and give his welcome address, please.
He has wished to introduce the chief guest, Mr. Mahesh Patil, who is the chairman of Goa Pollution Control Board, and I will do the honors. It's our proud privilege to have Mr. Mahesh Patil, chairman of Goa Pollution Control Board, to grace this occasion. I know Mr. Patil for many years. He is an engineer by profession, and agriculturist by profession, and he has worked with Vedantas for many years. He is an expert in mining, different types of pollution control activities he has carried out. From the time he has taken over Goa Pollution Control Board, there have been lot of reforms under his leadership, and a lot of issues which were pending, especially ease of doing business and all with the Goan industries, he has solved it. He was also with me on the State Expert Appraisal Committee, and he was also a member of the GCZMA, that is Goa Coastal Zone Regulatory Association. So a loud applause to our Chief Guest.
Hi, Sarisha.
Of Commerce and Industry is a 115-year-old organization. It was established in 1908. We are in the 115th year of its existence. We have a three-tier system in Goa Chamber of Commerce. We have an elected body which consists of 16 members, which is led by the president. Our current president is Mr. Srinivas Dempo, who is the chairman of the Dempo Group of Industries. Then we have the committees, various subcommittees, which consists of all the major sectors. Like we have the Agriculture Committee, we have the Tourism Committee, Mining Committee. So these committees are led by prominent people from that particular sector who leads. And the third tier is the secretariat, which I head, and we help the first two tiers. The main aim of the chamber is mostly in policy making. We advise government in different policy making matters. We also look at other issues which the industries, trade and commerce face, and we represent the same to the government. And government also helps us a lot. We are on the maximum committees of government. There is the presence of the chamber, and it helps us a lot to get the issues of the fraternity, industrial as well as the commercial fraternity. It helps us to get it solved. And I come to the main topic now. I thank Harsha very much. She has been in touch with us for a long period of time, and I'm thankful that it's finally culminated into this gathering. So I just will give a brief of what is ESG. ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Corporate Governance. It's a framework set of criteria used by investors and organizations to evaluate company performance on these three factors. So environment factors refers to a company's impact on the environment. This can include things like carbon emission, energy consumption, waste management, etc. Social factors refers to a company's impact on people, both within and outside the company. This can include like how you treat your labor, the labor practices, the human rights, the community engagement and the product safety, etc. And governance factors refers to a company's internal governance structure, including its board of directors, executive compensation and shareholding rights. So what are the benefits? Why ESG? So companies that perform well on ESG factors are likely to attract more investors and customers who prioritize sustainability. So people look at companies which have got a name in the market, whom will last forever and will keep on performing better and better. They are more likely to be resilient to environmental and social changes. In any, if there is a pandemic or there is a problem, or these companies will sustain. So this is why ESG comes into play. ESG framework is also important for companies because it helps them to identify areas where they can improve their performance, reduce risk, and then enhance their brand reputation. The most important part of ESG today is the finance. There are a lot of finances available for ESG compliant companies. So people look at companies' ESG ranking before they want to invest. So in ESG investing, although it is a new concept, it is being accepted worldwide as well as India now. There has been an influx of ESG thematic funds lately, such as Axis has come, ICICI Prudential, and of late SBI has also pitched in. Companies that follow good ESG practices and are believed to generate higher profit through brand building and continued customer patronage. One shining example of this is the Taj Group. Some other ESG compliant companies are Infosys, ITC, Tech Mahindra, Godrej, Gracium, Procter & Gamble, Vedanta and HDFC Bank. In Goa, at least I know two companies. One is Abbott Pharma and and the second is Bosch, who are ESG compliant in Europe. So without wasting further time and going back to the topic, I now end my welcome speech. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you, and I hope that we'll take some learning out of this gathering. So thank you very much.
Now I call upon Ms. Harsha to address the audience for setting the context of the deliberations. Over to Harsha.
Everyone for joining us today for this rainy afternoon in Goa. You all are coming from all over India. I'm so glad to see all of you all. We met each one of you all virtually, and it's heartwarming to see all of you all in person. I'm sure even you all like it. So, and I would also like to thank Shri Mahesh Patil ji. We know each other since 2017 when we first organized National Extractive Industry and Sustainable Development Conference back in Delhi. And it's lovely to see his journey as an entrepreneur, as an environmentalist, and as an agriculturalist as well. And thank you, Sanjay ji, for giving us an opportunity to organize a session on such an important topic. And as we go ahead, climate change is becoming important for all of us in our day-to-day lives also. Apart from environment, we are also focusing on social and governance deliberations in this session today. There are a lot of people who have studied with us for the past 9 months on Masters in ESG. So today is their convocation and day wherein they will be defending the thesis that they have been researching since past 9 months. Apart from that, we would also be having our chief guest, Shri Nilesh Kabral ji, who is the Minister for Environment, Law, Justice and PWD with us in the latter half of the day, and a certificate award ceremony. So in total the entire day we would be having extensive discussions on environmental, social governance and how you all can also integrate it in your day-to-day lives. Looking forward to this, and thank you so much for joining us.
Setting the context of the entire deliberation, now I have the honor to call on stage Mahesh Patil sir to give his address, which will not only ease our process of implementing, but also set forward the rules and regulations which are required to be implemented in this area of operation for early implementation and compliances. So, please, Mahesh Patil sir, big round of applause.
My friend and Director General of Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Sanjay Amunkar, Ms. Harsha, who is the Director of International Institute of CSR, my other friend and the GCI colleague, Mr. D'Souza, and all of you who are here present on this occasion. As she mentioned, many of you are, I think most of you have come from outside state, so of Goa. So we welcome you here in this very good evening with monsoon. Probably the monsoon, what you see in the North India, what we are living these days, is a catastrophe. I think most of us, we go in North India for a winter to enjoy, or when we have a very hot summer here. But this year monsoon, or at least what we read in the paper and what we see in the news channel, is horrible. But God has been kind to us. In Goa, you see all greenery around. good rain, except venturing into the sea, which is quite rough, you can enjoy the beauty. Don't go into water. But this also set the context for which you all will come here and hope you have been studying. The climate change. Many years back ago, when I was a student or just a startup practitioner, we are talking of theory. And when we are making models, climate change is going to happen, glacier is going to melt, polar bear will vanish. But today I don't think anybody would ever talk of climate change. It's a reality. Reality, we have been saying change of weather pattern, change of rain. I was in UK 2-3 years ago, and they said it's so hot, but the UK no house has a fan, or rather Europe, they have not devised for the fan. But now whether it's 32, 35, I was told France or Germany is coming out 36. Last week I was in Pune and one for meeting, and person came from Germany. He said, what is the temperature? He said 36. And here, I think there was a snowfall in Himachal. Some of the roads, Spiti Valley and road was blocked. So that's the reality. So where we are heading to, we don't know. But also we say, we all being our most intelligent creatures, we claim ourselves. And then with that intelligence, we said we had made such a development. That is also development what we thought is a comfort. Development, we said we are more comfortable. I don't think no more. And if you look at beyond, we say we are responsible. We in the sense, all human race, so-called intelligent race on the earth. And possibly, we have that thinking power, so probably we have realized it now. Is going beyond our control. Let's do something. In this context, that ESG, environmental social governance, is very, very important. I wouldn't know many of your background, but I hope, since you have said the case studies, possibly they are most of them corporate.
Yes.
Many of you are corporate. So if you see the GDP, world GDP, other GDP, 50% of the GDP of any country is contributed by private sector, and that's the industry. Your service or industry. So imagine, maybe sometimes we blame government for not taking proper decision, but actually the entire activity are controlled by corporate. Even if you say 50% of the all corporate, big 100, Fortune 100 companies you take, their GDP, their financial power is more than 50% of the nations put together. You see how many billion or trillion dollars you're talking about. So who does actually that work? Is a corporate. And to say corporate bad is required. That's the reason we are over here. This more than 100 years old association, GCCI, is managed by the corporate. And they have certain ethos. So corporate not bad. We are all getting jobs, salary, development happens to the corporate. Government does. Even nowadays, at least in India, all education was earlier in the government sector. Today, I think best of the colleges, engineering, medical, except they are all by private. And we want to have a private school, private kindergarten. So private has an important role. What I'm trying to, get your pointers, you all can play a very huge role. And that is the environmental social governance. But let's not look at the environment. Environment, I am working for more than 30 years in this sector. Compliance, getting the one certificate to start my business. If you look that only as an option, that it is not an environmental governance. It's a statute that anybody can do. Just take a paper, get a license, but what are the intent of that license? That is important. Social, I think with CSR, when we started maybe 10-15 years back, it was considered to be something good. Today, 2% of my profit I spend on CSR, my work is over. My job is done. Is it so? That means you first make money somehow, and then 2% I will give to community. That is not a permanent social governance. So what is social? While doing business, I will say that it causes minimum harm to the community. I will have minimum impact. Now impact can be avoided. How best I can reduce, mitigate, and then take them all together. Let's take an example. You take a mining sector, as Mr. Sanjay also mentioned. I have been working in India as well as abroad, so a lot of things. Poor Adivasi, if you put economic terms, say, I made how much PAT? Typically in corporate is what? EBITDA. PAT, profit after tax. My profit is 50% higher, 60% higher. What is the PAT or EBITDA of that farmer, for the shepherd, who used to feed their cattle on the land which you are buying. It was a grass, it was free for him, God had given. Or how much money you spent on his livelihood. How you, while working, you are taken care that his livelihood or her livelihood is not affected. Just getting 2%, you will be compliant with the ESG. When you say, I have given 2% by profit. I have taken environmental clearance. I have taken pollution control board clearance. But something this ESG, and I think I compliment Harsha for if taking such initiative. This is what is required for the corporate managers. Our job is just not taking license and they go beyond compliance. Now some of the names Mr. Sanjay took, like ITC, I know I quite, Mr. Daleshwar, no more now. He was the helm of affair and it was the first company to have their sustainability report prepared in India. He was, and that day they started ITC Center for Sustainability with CII in Delhi. If you happen to go there, please go. It's an excellent team. It's led by Seema Arora, who is a very known person, working for more than 25 years. But that is a corporate. They will say 2% they would have given. Many of the company when I talk, they said, even I said, tell them, there's a community behind, there's a school to be repaired, please give. I said, no, I give 2% to Prime Minister Relief Fund. My job is over. I have given to Chief Minister Relief Fund. My job is over. Very, very compliant. But then I do not think you come under the category of ESG. And that's about the governance. I said environment, social. I don't go more because you are going to do presentation. But I'll tell you the thought process. Social governance. This is governance. How we are going to take decision. He also took the name of the startup, Touch. After that 2611, how they have taken care of the staff. They are rehabilitated to them, including the Gada wala or a Pan Patti wala, of the story you must have learned. That is called governance. That is never said in the law that you have to give them money. So that is governance at the board level and how it comes. Second aspect I want to highlight upon you, many of them my company. Company is who? Company is a group of people and you are the one of the important person who can shape the, make the opinion, make the difference. Simply government is who is government? We elect the government. We elect our people. So we are the people who are making this change. That is what is important in ESG. Last I want to say the Honorable Prime Minister, have you heard of Life, Mission Life? Anybody? You know it. I could normally in many of the functions we take a Mission Life pledge. Now what is Mission Life? Any idea? It's the lifestyle for environment. Now you don't require to go to him. If everybody practices lifestyle for environment, I think it will be done. All lifestyle. We talk about the plastic pollution. SUP, single use plastic. I think everybody would like to carry the plastic bag and throw it out. Good old days, at least your parents or grandparents would already take that kapde ka thaila, or we call poti here, or thaila, whatever you call. That was sustainable. Why we can't do it today? You know where you have maximum plastic? Any idea? Where is the maximum plastic?
Packaging.
You are carrying on your body.
Clothing.
Your clothes. Except your cotton, 70% of your clothes. You said you will buy this thing, shirt. He said 10% cotton, 30% cotton. The rest is what? Is a polyester. But what they think about what? Plastic. So you are actually maximum that is what? 70, 30, 40, 50% plastic. Your credit card, pen, I don't know more. So all plastic was in a body. Now sensibly, I say it's required. I say plastic not bad. Plastic has revolutionized. Plastic is required. But how we dispose, how we manage is very important. Your clothes now. If you use this old clothes, we have started an initiative. I'll not take more time. But it's like you give your clothes back. A nice red t-shirt, pink shirt, blue chudidar. Post this, you can nicely make it in the back. In fact, I would have distributed today. We have started initiative Moti. There's a pollution control board. We said you take your kapda bag. We give it to the self-help group. Social governance comes in. The ladies who can stitch nice bags. Put a corporate logo on that. You will also require publicity. First, give to your staff. Give to the nearest community. Start practicing. I don't think you don't require an ESG certificate. You yourself are doing. Start from your home. Any of your unit, just start collecting your old clothes which you are. See, the things also change. We have to change with the time. Earlier, you used to give your old clothes to your Again, I mean, काम वाली बाई or your security guard. I don't think today they take. They take? They should not take also. But their economic standards gone. They can afford to buy new one. It's cheap available today. Earlier they would wait for. Even I know my farm labor or somebody coming from far off, very backward also today don't take care. Unless they like it. Things have changed. And then all these clothes will go back into the, at least that's a circular economy. So, with this context, I just wanted to tell you my feeling that this is what you can make a difference. Individually can make a difference. There's so many I become we. Then the ours. Together we can make a change. And you start from your home. And that's the best thing where you can start your corporate. And the sustainability, CSR, and this may be big jargon. Good, we require that. We have to market it, we have to use it, we have to practice it. But at the end of the day, how many parameters are life? And if you go to you can go to Google and see mission life, it covers everything. Smallest practice of saving water, energy, conservation, till your own lifestyle. Once again, I congratulate Harsha for taking this initiative and Guwahati Chamber of Commerce for getting you all together, and especially for me in the Saturday afternoon, opportunity to come here, speak with you. I have another commitment, that's why I told you I can't wait in the evening. And again, congratulations to all of you that you have made those efforts to study, present here, and possibly some would like to carry the plastic bag and throw it out. Good old days, at least your parents or grandparents would already take that kapde ka thaila, or we call poti here, or thaila, whatever you call. That was sustainable. Why we can't do it today? You know where you have maximum plastic? Any idea? Where's the maximum plastic?
Packaging.
You are carrying on your body, your clothes, except your cotton. I request them to share with us so that we'll be happy to practice in Goa. Any one of you have some specific project you want to do in Goa, we'll be very open to help you out. Thank you, and I hope the conversation will be very useful. Thank you. Maximum, that is what, 70, 30, 40, 50% plastic. Your credit card, pen, I don't know more. So all plastic was in a body. Now sensibly, I say it's required. I say plastic not bad. Plastic has revolutionized. Plastic is required. But how we dispose, how we manage is very important. Your clothes now. If you use this old clothes, we have started an initiative, I'll not take more time. But you give your clothes back.
Such a wonderful insight on the climate change journey from the erstwhile theory to the practical aspects, the role of corporates in the envisaged journey of ESG for the country, simple practical aspects and tips to be the role model and the inspiration to start immediately implementing the theory part what most of us have learned here. We are very grateful. I'm sure the audience has benefited by your quick review of 30 years of vast experience in India and abroad, and I'm sure we all will be benefited. So now,
which is we human. What happens, I'll tell you, a lot of ships come to Goa port and it may be an oil ship or a chemical ship, and they unload their tanks and they go. Now what happens is they have to go to another port of call in there, and they have to fill another product inside. So what they do is they take in seawater, they flush the tank and they dump that back in the sea. This is the one of the major reasons why we get this type of disturbances on our shores. So this should be avoided. So this you cannot avoid by putting regulations. It should come from within.
Very true, sir. Everything, unless and until it comes from within, we can't control. So yeah, it's human nature.
Yeah,
and that is where training and sensitization works.
I got a lot of kerosene and I want to take diesel. So that's what is being done.
Yeah.
Just want to.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll make note of it. Thank you.
now I invite on stage for the next presentation, Tejashwi Yu, EHS analyst, working with Garvey Business Service. On stage, please. in the FMG sector. Propose the vote of thanks on behalf of all August members, students and other faculty present here to the inaugural session members. And also, Sanjay sir has told the journey of Goa Chamber of Commerce in a very, very clear and vivid form, which will help each one of us in our journey if we take the steps to establish our work in this area. Now I will request Sanjay sir to give a memento to Mr. Mahesh Patil sir. And once again, thank you sir for sparing your valuable time and being with us. Now we will move to the presentation and I will request if sir is convenient, sir can attend. And may I request sir to move off stage.
My friend, industry representative will come and support us. Yes, will support. Yeah, no, that is what we are trying to. Yesterday, my minister comes to the evening. He's very great after that. Just 2 days back. I'm going to introduce here, and hopefully all goes well. But on 2nd October, Gandhi Jayanti, we want to implement Goa. So from plastic, here, SDP, everything, and that is will be real circular economy. So you need to think like that. So you live halfway, and last, my comment would be, you wouldn't know you are actually impact what is happening somewhere else. You need to go beyond your boundary. Say factory, you look only the boundary of factory premises. Then the supplier. This is somewhere you are not even aware, like plastic there, or oil. Third parties. Yeah, third location. Your passports go for entire post. I'm not talking about fishermen laws, how much fish, turtle are suffering, I really don't know. But what we know is our tourists are suffering, you and me. So imagine how much impact it is. Thank you.
Cradle is yours, grave is somebody else's.
No, but we are creating grave for ourselves. It's a matter of time.
We are both running in the same location.
Thank you sir. Thank you sir for adding those valuable points in this presentation. Raise a big round of applause for sir. Is by Mr. Satyam Sabro, class G, co-founder, development, Spark Foundation, ESG, working in the field of ESG in oil and gas, focused on oil spillage control. Over to you, please.
And starting ESG, now the publics and the me, you and all are now focusing on the ESG topic in certain way. You are thinking when you going to procure a market, nowadays बच्चा is always says कि मम्मा ये बैग नहीं ले जाना, पॉलीथीन नहीं ले जाना. We are focusing. So ESG is now concern become for all the people. Also for the industries, for the automobile industry is become concern because the nowadays the shifting of the power plant from coal to the renewable. So that's why the industries has now become deliberately more focused for the automobile that they have to switch from the IC engine to the EV engine. Similarly, we are facing various different issues related to the social. So that's why in the automobile industry is focusing this way. If you see that it's the sixth in the total supply ESG risk factor, automobile at the 6th position.
So अब तक मैंने speeches काफ़ी किए हैं. So I used Hindi and English. So काफ़ी सारे speeches हुए अब तक without presentations. So first time है. So I'm wishing myself best luck. It being a journey of 9 months with IICSR, it was a lot of learning on ESG. I wanted to step into ESG after working in the social sector for almost 16 years. So here is my attempt, what I've studied to see through the ESG lens. I'll be covering about ESG and oil and gas industry. So we all know what are the different areas of ESG. So I'll skip this first slide. Please bear me for that. A quick overview of oil and gas. We are all aware that the transport, the industries, everything need oil and gas. So as per 2021 statistics, world produces around 4.2 billion tons of oil. Then we are producing 92.36 million barrels per day. The cost per oil barrel, we'll skip that, it keeps changing, but currently last year it was 79.80 USD. Around 20% natural gas is something energizing the industries, and the whole economy of oil and gas itself, it comes to 5 trillion USD. It's running the engine of the economy, so it fluctuates the economy accordingly, the rates. It contributes a lot, almost 5% of GHG emissions worldwide. These are few challenges we are looking at into oil and gas. Because of operations, these are the challenges created: marine ecosystem impact, the wildlife and biodiversity loss is happening due to the operations and exploration of oil and gas, coastal habitat damage, a lot of mangroves and the species residing into mangroves are getting impacted through that. Water quality impairment, which is about water pollution, economic impact. As I mentioned, we are contributing a lot into oil and gas contributes a lot into economy, and when some damage happens or when there are constraints, like we saw it happening due to Ukraine and Russia war, so that's how it impacts the economy of world. And there are long-term environmental persistence because the layers of oil stays on water and the earth, so it damages. So there are long-term impact. So I would repeat it. So yeah, coming to ESG, why we need to look into ESG or why we want to consider ESG? It's about reputation building of the organization, making organizational responsibility towards university and environment it operates into. It is also mandatory to comply with the regulatory compliance and for the risk mitigation. ESG, when we ESG is also pushing us to bring lots of innovation in the operations where we can minimize our impact on the society and environment. Okay, I have 10 minutes, so I'll...
Automotive. Now it's become a priority for automotive industries. For an industry, it is said due to the climate change. You see that in the airports, the vehicles are EV because they say that our airport is green. When I reached the Pune yesterday, my flight, I reached from Pune to Dubai. The Pune airport is clearly mentioned. This airport is greener airport. All the things are green because they are using EV, they are using solar for the generation wind. Similarly, for the automobile industries, EV means.
Next slides. Okay, we'll go to spillage, which is a main topic of my talk. How we can actually work around the spillage, which damages a lot biodiversity and economy, lives of people on the coastal line. But these are the causes. Operational accidents, we all know. Then second reason which contributes a lot into is equipment failure during transport or the extraction of the oil from the wells. Natural disasters like we had tsunami. Then third party interference when there are attacks like pirates and all that, they attack on the shipping cargoes. That is, and adequate safety measures practiced by the companies. This is the immediate, here we discuss immediate impact of the spillage, contamination of water, toxicity and suffocation. So when we talk about, so like there are many impacts. These are very, I'll just read out through the headings. Contamination of water, we all are aware. Toxicity of suffocation, which damages the biodiversity, animals in water. Destruction of habitats. We are many species due to oil and gas are losing their habitat in the sea, and it is also impacting wildlife. These are few long-term impacts. Ecological disruption because many species are losing their life. Contamination, economic and social consequences. Because when we lose biodiversity, we lose a lot of seaweed, which impact economy and especially people residing on the coastal areas of sea. These are few cases I mentioned which happened in recent past. Talk about ESG. So how we can strategize ESG into oil and gases? We can have a risk assessment on what are the risks, and then we can plan accordingly risk mitigation. So risk assessment, training and education of staff and people involved in the industry, which covers the social part and governance part of the industry. Then there needs to be some standard operating procedure because every company is having separate, so we come across a standard SOP for the industry that can help us. Storage and handling, as I mentioned during transport, there are maximum chances of spillage, so we can work around storage and handling of the oil and gas. And spill containment, that is the last option. When there are accidents, how do we avoid that or reverse that? So spill contamination systems will cover few of the measures and technologies in next slides. These are few initiatives taken by various industries for oil and gas spillage. Oil and gas industry itself, and maritime industry and chemical industry come up with innovative ideas to control the spillage and address the issues arising from it. These are few case studies where few of the companies who are practicing various measures to control the contamination. So BP, which is British Petroleum, they have developed a technology and they are implementing it to how they can prevent the spillage while extraction from the deep sea. There is marine contamination company who are doing really well. So they have immediate response team to address. They have deployed technologies to see deep water. Deep water drilling operations. Then Shell company has invested in surveillance, aerial surveillance. So around the whale, how we can control that, and satellite imagery. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll cover the technologies. As we all talk about how we can use technology, so IoT is being IoT, Internet of Things, is being actively used for spillage prevention and response, which monitors pipelines, storage tanks, so we can avoid leakages. then there is this new technology, advanced analytics and artificial intelligence. We all are aware of ChatGPT. So that's how they are processing data, so we can actually work on the data, what accidents had happened, and how we can avert accidents. Robotic systems are being implemented into deep sea for control and monitoring of the extractions. We are also using drones with thermal cameras to monitor, and autonomous vehicles and remote response for surveillance, monitoring, and containment tasks. So yeah, that's it. Okay. There are a few more technologies. Robotics into subsea level, because deep sea we can't operate manually. So robotics are being especially enabled vehicles are being deployed through robotics. In-house trainings and simulation. This is VR technology-based intervention. We can teach people who are operating and handling the operations. Environmental monitoring and remediation. That is another, because when oil spills happen, how we can actually control that and avoid damages for that, and regulatory and industry standards. So that is how industrial organizational bodies are working together. So thank you.
We'll take a question.
Aspect lithium. Still, the lithium is available only from the outside the country. That's
but wherever it is inside the country or outside the country.
It's inside.
We are looking at the global of the earth basically. So even if we are doing it inside the country, so we are still going to the mining sector then, and which is going to have
that would help. Certainly, but that's why the policies are coming up for more and more recycling. That's why EPR is coming. That says increasing. If you see the battery waste management rule, it says by 2027 the battery aspect would be 70% recycled. Means they increase the recycling aspect.
So thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for him. Now, may I request Ritika Saw, analyst.
Major sufferers. You'll find always after the rain something like tar balls or something you'll find on the shore of the wall. Okay. My only point here is you mentioned various ways how the oil spillage can occur. But we missed one, which is we humans. What happens, I'll tell you, a lot of ships come to Goa port and it may be an oil ship or a chemical ship, and they unload their tanks and they go. What happens is they have to go to another port of call inside. They have to fill another product inside. So what they do is they take in seawater, they flush the tank and they dump it back in the sea. This is the one of the major reasons why we get this type of disturbances on our shores. So this should be avoided. So this you cannot avoid by putting regulation and all. It should come from within.
Very true, sir. Everything, unless and until it comes from within, we can't control. So yeah, it's human nature.
Yeah,
and that is where training and sensitization works a
I got a
lot.
lot of kerosene and I want to take results.
Yeah.
Just want to.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll make note of it. Thank you.
So that they are aware, and also for the manufacturers, how they can be, restricted to use these kind of harmful substances less, so that the people or consumers are not affected.
I think that's a great question. So first, for government, I think awareness not to end, just to end period poverty, but also to.
Now I invite on stage for the next presentation, Tejashmi Yu, EHS analyst, working with Gardi Business Service, on stage please, in the FMG sector.
What you said, what is harmful?
Sir,
You said it is harmful. So some of the pets don't remember.
yeah.
But what is the material they are using which is harmful?
So a lot of time, and actually it is there in my thesis. I can show it because that's.
Just give us.
So there are a lot of chemicals because when it comes to attaching a pad, there are a lot of chemicals that is used.
Chemicals used for bonding.
Yeah.
Bonding material is not safe.
Yeah, and also, sir, it is not. They have not labeled it on the cover packaging.
Okay, that this is been used.
Yeah.
Which is harmful.
Yeah.
basically it is a mislabeling. Like,
Sort of. So we understood. Because he has worked 9 months here. To give you details to me as another minister and what you recommend, what I should do. We'll call the company, or then we'll have to start telling people that this company is not doing this what they're supposed to do. So we pretty strong.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, one more. Another question. First of all, thank you very much. This is a very, very important topic you have touched upon. And to be frank, I was at least not aware that we are using 1 billion pads per month. That's a huge,
Unbelievable. Sanitary, there are others.
huge.
Baby pads are there.
Yeah.
That's a huge, huge quantity. One just for information that there are sanitary pads which are biodegradable, and at least one lady I know in Goa, Goan entrepreneur, Riya Patil, she manufactures them here in Gorlip Industrial Estate in Goa itself. So she is into this business. So this is one of the points I wanted to make.
But even when I was doing the research, I
Deliver.
was
Biodegradable.
Supply, cannot supply.
Yeah, there's a problem with the quantities are. The second problem here is, for this type of business to sustain, you need a market reach and the production capacity which is not there. And these companies who are in this business are huge, and they don't let small players survive. So that is another.
No, we can do that. The government can do that. She said laws support. Laws can be made. Some give me a report. You tell what chemicals should not be used. You tell this company that in Goa we can start with oil. Thank you.
Good one, very nice.
may I call Darshan Jua? Please answer any query or about a couple of things?
What is the whistleblower? What is the whistleblower?
Okay.
For government, what is the whistleblower you would think in mind?
So whistleblower policy is when you find something wrong in the
Then I am
company.
aware. I understand policy. What do you suggest?
What's your suggestion?
What is your suggestion, I'm asking? I know what is whistleblower. So, for improving the goals, what is the whistleblower you suggest to the government?
For the governance aspect, one thing where we can see is whistleblower is as a policy is present across all the 3 components which I talked about. But the point where it comes into a debate is when the whistleblower policy, there's a complaint which is being given, right? That is being given, for example, if this is in a plant down at Hosur, the policies, the complaint goes to the person who is in the head of that own person.
No,
When that,
whistleblower for governance, you said governance in the governance part. You said we have to make a policy for whistleblowers where.
no, I said that it is mentioned, like they have a policy down there.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more
One
question.
more question.
See, Unilever is an FMCG company, so they have their operations. I don't know whether you've studied that the operations, they are third parties operations they do. They give it to the small companies for manufacturing. Have you seen in your studies, they have imposed any regulations on their supplies?
That is where they're facing a lot of problems. When I said that Unilever and all of them are facing a lot of problems, especially in the South Africa and Myanmar, they're facing a lot of problems in the supply chain policy because they're not able to put them into a sustainable matrix, like for labor practices especially, and how they are treating and whom they are involving for their labor, what child labor and all of that.
Processing of milk. They are more collection and processing of milk.
Okay, now they have also started the farm, which is they have started getting the cows. They have the plan of 20,000 cows in the future. That is their milk production. They buy it from the farmers also, and partly it is out of the in-house production.
So the claim about water management to 100% recycling is only to the extent of what they are part of the process they are handling.
Correct.
Not total.
No.
I just want to.
And there is a nice point arising out of that, which is the value chain partners, they don't do anything. So that's a gap in the system.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Tejaswini Yu. I'm EHS professional in Cargill Business Services. I'm here to present today the investigative analysis, mainly focusing on the EHE problems in palm oil industry, that is edible oil industry. So as we know, palm oil is widely used, edible oil.
You said something about digitization. So
Yes.
how it is related to the current subject of discussion?
Yes. Say for example, there are multiple stakeholders I showed. There's a structural engineer who says that this beam should come here. Then there is an electrical engineer who will say that the duct should come like this. What happens is during the construction, they will realize that okay, as per the structural drawing, they will have raised it. Then when they are putting the MEP, which is the the wiring, etc., then this beam is on the root of the wiring. They'll have to remove that beam, which means you have spent waste of concrete, waste of steel, waste of labor, the transportation. All this has had social impact, environmental impact. With the digitalization, you can actually do something called as a clash identification. So this is intersecting. That software will say, hey, this is in the path of your wiring, don't do this. So a lot of digitization has happened in that area. That's why governance and the digitization in BIM is related.
Very good. Very interesting.
Thank you. One more question was there.
My question was, see, we can talk about the building, but doesn't that also encompass all that is in, let's say, even a furniture or anything of that sort? So how do you, who is responsible for that? The builder, the one who's using it, the one who's leasing it?
Yeah, so there is always this concept of shared responsibility. So when a builder makes the building, he leases it out to an occupier. Then the occupier is responsible for that space. Even in my case, I occupied a home, recently. A tap got broke. The owner said that, hey, it is now your property, you have to repair it. So good or bad, it is your property, so you have to take that ownership. Like someone else said, it has to come from within. So that is one angle of it. But it all comes in the contract. So while signing the contract, each occupier has something called as an MPC, which is a minimum performance criteria. Many of these ESG criteria and the DEA criteria, the S and G of it, including the S and G of it, can be included in the MPC document itself. And then the developers will also make such reforms so that they can match the requirement of the customers. So that is how we should look at this problem. Thank you. So this again, should, as I told, is like a shared responsibility. For example, I am buying sand. I am a glass manufacturer. I am buying sand from you. I should also ensure that you are following good environmental practices, etc. So in the governance part, I had listed one. Since it was quick, I could not cover. There is a code of conduct for the suppliers. There is a code of validation that can be done for the vendors and suppliers. Through that, the supplier code of conduct can extend to ESG, and the person who wants their suppliers to comply to these should enable them. It should not be like you are not following, so I will not buy from you. So it will be like currently you are having these problems. I will help you in upgrading. So that is how many of the larger companies are upgrading their supply chain. And in the supply chain, many of them are also MSMEs, like rightly you said. So what is this angle? Second angle is the digitization part. There are many small startups who are making the reporting aspect, who are making the technical aspect of calculating carbon footprint into a digital process which is easier. So that is another aspect that is coming up.
So palm oil is a widely used edible oil, and 80% of
He's trying to resolve it by the time.
Okay. 85% of global palm oil production is basically from Indonesia and Malaysia. These are the top countries who are producing palm oil, and its versatile properties has made its use in various industries, not just food. It's in cosmetic industry, it's in biofuel, pharmacy, etc. And its demand has been increasing in the world. So when we see the palm oil production in the country, in countries like Indonesia and Malaysia are the top producers of palm oil, and the consumption has also increased over the years. And India is 9.1 metric tons, sorry, MMT. So what are the products? So palm oil is not just an edible oil, it's biodiesel, it's personal care and cosmetics, cleaning products, food additives, it's used as an animal feed, and the oleochemicals is a byproduct of palm oil industry and is used in cosmetics. So these are the ESG risks associated with the palm oil production. And you know, most of these risks are already known to the communities, so I'll just. So these are the opportunities to overcome the ESG risk. Sustainable sourcing, deforestation-free supply chains. The industries follow NDPE policy, that is no deforestation, etc. Smallholder support, social welfare, stakeholder management, carbon emission reduction, research and development, circular economy. They can reuse their containers, which adds value to the economy. Diversity and inclusion, responsible supply chain, training and development. So this is a broad picture of how the palm oil is produced and who are involved. In growing and extracting, there is a sector called growers, and refining is a separate sector, and manufacturing and retail is a separate sector in palm oil. Cradle to grave. So cultivating, harvesting, processing, refining, transportation, distribution, consumer, and end of life. So as of now, the plastic is used for the packaging is going for incineration. Not much of recycle is used, but it's been increasing recently. So the best practices in the palm oil industries are listed. The supplier selection. So supplier selection plays a very important role. There is RSPO certification, that is Round Table Sustainable Palm Oil certification. They certify the people who are using legit land for the palm oil cultivation. Traceability means routing to how the palm oil seeds are obtained, how they are cultivated. So certifications, supplier engagement, deforestation free. These are some of the best practices and challenges. Land availability and deforestation, supply and demand fluctuations, price variations for the raw materials, quality control to provide same quality to the consumers. Yield depends again on various climate factors. And yeah, these are some of the challenges in this industry. Emissions. So when it comes to emissions, there are various points where the emissions are generated in the palm oil industry during transport of the palm oil fruits from the site to the industries, refining industries. And within the organization, there are so many processing machineries. These contribute to stationery and industrial wastewater. There is a special palm oil effluent that is called POME, palm oil mill effluent, which is very difficult to treat. So it is also causing the emissions. So these are the emissions that are caused: CO2, N2, and CH4 from various processes. So if you see the palm oil emissions, the 52% of emissions are basically from land use conversion. That is, they are going to drain the peatland and then use it for cultivation. This is a vegetable oil comparison compared to palm oil, other oils. So the case study I have considered for this industry is Adani Wilmar. It's a joint venture of Adani and Wilmar. They have 23 manufacturing plants in India and they export to 50 plus countries. They have so many employees. It's one of the leading FMCG company in India. So they have stakeholder management at Adani, and these are the stakeholders. So when it comes to materiality assessment, When it comes to materiality assessment, this is the process they follow. They identify, prioritize, and take inputs from board of directors. And the top ones are regulatory compliance, social issues, risk, human rights, other things. They have the top high priority are highlighted in the right quadrant of the graph. So these are some of the ESG policies at the case study side, that is Adani Wilmar. So they have various policies under E, S and G to monitor their manufacturing processes. So coming to ESG data, so their emissions have decreased from in the last fiscal year, basically to shifting to renewable sources of, power. So yeah, and that is already reflected in energy intensity, that which are the sources they are using for power. And coming to air emissions, they are reducing, they have reduced air emissions and water management use. They are using effective water management use. So they have increased recycling of their plastic. They are calling back the used packets from the consumers. And coming to employees, I don't see female employees in their top management levels. That's a con, what I've observed. And health and safety reporting, the injuries is increased this year. They have to do something about it. And they say they have a separate system for customer complaints addressing. And they have initiatives such as Supposhan program, where Sanjani from local village will visit malnutrition people from the villages, and they help in fighting they help in fighting anemia and malnutrition in India. So they have other volunteering programs like CSR activities. So they even talk about extended producer responsibilities, like they have third-party vendors who will collect recyclers of the packages, and their plastic recollection percentage has been increased to 60%. So the unsolved mysteries in palm oil industry are mainly the deforestation and biodiversity loss. That the increase in demand has making the cultivators drive away the indigenous communities who are staying in the locality, and the labor conditions are very weak. The transparency and traceability, from where the palm oil seeds are coming. So they have to verify if they are from certified legit lands are used. The smallholder farmers and livelihoods should be properly supported and given right wages. Waste and pollution is already discussed, like how they can overcome the waste pollution. Think environment, thank you.
Permission of participants to take 2 questions, if at all is there. Anyone, any questions?
Very different. You can easily take the production material, but the process of the whole production is very impact. Lots of the different is generated, lot of the emission is coming. So you mentioned the biodiversity law. So what type of diversity, can you explain some type? Like what are the types of biodiversity? Like deforestation is a simple part. What other biodiversity laws which need to be taken?
So biodiversity laws includes there are some extinct species called ongurants. Those are not seen nowadays. Like they have cut down the forest for cultivation of palm oil, and that is not restored somewhere else. They are not doing at least the restoration. There is species loss. Biodiversity means species loss. Migration of species, migration of indigenous people. All this comes under biodiversity loss.
Thank you.
I'll just make 2 comments based on the 2 case studies what you did presentation before I leave. See, what we are talking about, what is the ESG governance, which is CSR, environment, social, and we are adding 1 more plus sustainability. If you, in my perspective, excellent, both are done. However, as I said, we want to do beyond the governance or overarching about that. I said beyond compliance. First case, oil, nicely done, everything we do. But Mr. Sanjay Amulkar asked question. You are producing oil somewhere else. It is used by somebody third party. Profit is made by some transporter. Impact is felt where? Goa, all coastal. Are you responsible? Have you thought of it? Are you aware of it first? If you are aware, then have you thought of it? In fact, I tell you, as Pollution Control Board, the earlier this oil tar ball should come in there in September, October, when just monsoon is over and tourist season will start. Now all of you want to stay Goa throughout the year. So throughout the year is a tourist season for me. Now this year it came in around May. Few tar balls came just April and May in between. Pre-monsoon. And it's become, the Goa is highlighted because all of us go for the walk. There are a lot of tourists coming. It's happening throughout the coast. So Honorable NGT now has identified, made a committee because it's a global. Who does it? The company which name you took, big ones, Shell, other thing. No doubt about that. But what is the, also she, other presence cradle to grave approach. This is the impact. The ships which are going, passing through next to the Sri Lanka down, they release their oil. What Mr. Amankar said is a small fraction, it can dissolve, but not the oil. That's one. Secondly, she said, so what we'll do? So we're thinking on that, my impact, my profit, my economy is creating this impact somewhere very far off. That is what we need to look at. Plastic, I don't know go because my friend again, we had a presentation 2 days back. He went to Arctic. He found Arctic is somewhere 1,000 miles away from the any nearest habitat. It's an island. And therefore all birds are dying because of eating plastic. Secondly, oil palm. Yes, biodiversity. I was quite often I used to go to a place called Liberia in Western Africa. And there you have a natural oil palm. They are not grown, naturally grown. They are habit places over there. And all people living in the palm oil. Fair enough. Now I am coming to hear her case. All production, environmental place, biodiversity, all can manage. But today biggest problem on the palm oil, which you cook in a plastic container or the polythene, and that is going into down. We need to do how best. EPR is one of the things. I don't do go on EPR because I am a regulator. EPR is not going to solve this problem. Now what we are doing as a Goa state, the new legislation for information, new legislation will be introduced in this parliament's assembly session starting on 18th of July. So next 20 days you get it. We have got deposit refund scheme. In the sense, the moment if some of you come earlier, Goa that deposit refund scheme was to there. You buy a beer bottle of 10 rupees, you pay 12 rupees. 2 rupees is a deposit. You drink beer, give it back, and you get 2 rupees. Today 2 rupees has no value. And today nobody sits and drinks, they travel. So there's a deposit refund scheme we are introducing now. It's every like palm oil of 100 rupees you buy, that packet, it will have 10 rupees, 110 you pay. Once you use that oil, you go and, no, that will be code. So it's really simple. We'll have collection center everywhere. You just scan the code, 5 rupees, 10 rupees what you paid will directly get into your account. There, companies like should come and see how best you can do. You should not oppose us. I know, I'll get opposition tomorrow. This is another work I'm getting. I have to find one more account. I have to one more accountant. Double problem. I think the people will come. I'm sure. I hope that nobody will come. This enlightened people like you all who are speaking of ESG. I think this yes will support you. I hope this issue of how to find out, including my friend Amankar Sahab as an industry representative will come and support us. Support. Yeah, well, that is what we are trying to. Yesterday, the minister comes today evening. He's very, very keen. We drafted that just 2 days back. We're going to introduce here, and hopefully all goes well. But on 2nd October, Gandhi Jayanti, we're going to implement it. So from plastic, beer, whiskey, and HDP, everything, and that is will be real circular economy. So you need to think like that. So you live halfway, and last my comment would be, you wouldn't know your actual impact, what is happening somewhere else. You need to go beyond your boundary. Say factory, you look only in the boundary of factory premises. Then your supplier, this is somewhere, you are not even aware, like plastic there, or oil, third parties, third location. Your passports in Goa for entire coast. I'm not talking about fishermen laws, how much fish, turtle are suffering, I really don't know. But what we know is our tourists are suffering, you and me. So imagine how much impact it's facing. Thank you.
Cradle is yours, grave is somebody else's.
No, but we are creating grave for ourselves. It's a matter of time. Thank you.
We are both running in the same
Presentation. May I have your attention, please? Excuse me. Can I have your attention, please? The next presentation is by Amrinder Paul Singh, Senior President Manager, DGM Tata Motors, Masters in ESG, and working in the field of ESG for electric vehicle adoption, the very current topic. I request him to cover his presentation in 9 to 10 minutes and leave last 1 or 2 minutes for the questions by the audience. Over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. I think post-lunch session is very much hard to hear. So I'll try to restrict my presentation 9 to 10 minutes only. It's very interesting topic, and all of you know the EV is currently very much prevalent. So this is basically focused on how the EV vehicles are more and more focusing, and they help to increase the ESG profile of an industry. Starting with my presentation, I'll share the climate context. Earth is getting warmer and warmer. So someone says, Earth ko bukhar ho gaya. I'll say, yes, Earth has a fever, and this fever has certain implications. It causes serious catastrophic, you can say, various floods, rains, and hurricanes. These are the certain responses of the fever of the Earth. So I request, that's why everybody is now requesting for the focus on the climate change. My content, basically I focus on the ESG. So my colleagues already tells about what are the ESG factors. I don't know details in it. Starting with the ESG, now ESG become a part of our life for a businessman or for industry, because nowadays ESG as a part of regulatory framework. It is composite with all other industries. Now publics, you, me, and all are also focusing on the environment, ESG focus. Why? We are focusing on the impacts of the vehicle.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy to announce the arrival of chief guest, and we give a warm welcome to sir. Honorable Government, Mr. Nilesh Kabbar is a very established professional in the field of environment, and also he has contributed a lot for the upliftment of Goa from more than 2 decades. I am very honored to have his presence on this important deliberation of ESG, which is environment, social and governance. So may we have permission to continue with the presentation?
Welcome, sir. And starting. ESG, now the publics and the me, you and all are now focusing on the ESG topic in certain way. You are thinking when you going to procure a market, nowadays बच्चा is always say, mama ये bag नहीं ले जाना, polythene नहीं ले जाना. We are focusing. ESG is now concern become for all the people. Also for the industries, for the automobile industries become concerned because the nowadays shifting of the power from coal to the renewable. So that's why the industry has now become deliberately more focused for the automobile, that they have to switch from the ICE engine to the EV engine. Similarly, we are facing various different issues related to the social. So that's why in the automobile industry is focusing this way. If you see that it's the sixth in the total supply ESG risk factor, automobile are at the 6th position. Before that there are metal, oil, gas, power generation, refining industries and agriculture business, and then the automobile becomes the 6th position for the in the ESG factor risk. Why the ESG increasing automotive? Now it's become a priority for automobile industries. For an industry, it is said due to the climate change. You see like the airports, the vehicles are EV because they say that our airport is green. When I reached the Pune yesterday, my flight, I reach from Pune to Duba. The Pune airport is clearly mentioned. This airport is greener airport. All the things are green because they are using EV. They are using solar for the generation wind. Similarly, for the automobile industries, EV means transition from the technology, from ICE engine to EV, from battery storage to how the battery will work, how those things occur, how the battery will be procured. So this is the transition which for the automobile industries. In the social aspect, you might hear about the various countries from where the lithium is procuring. They are like Congo, where the social aspect is very much less. Even the small child are mining the lithium for their purposes. So social aspect is also in the governance, adhere to the various financing aspects. The world is changing and the automobile sector is also changing, and similarly the automotive sector is changing. How automotive sector is focusing on the electrification, user experience, safety, product safety, NCAP. Now word NCAP is most probably when you see in the advertise 5-star safety ratings in the vehicles, you can find the 5-star because it's the user preference, how the user can attract by the automobile industries. When we compare the ICE engine versus the EV, ICE means petrol, internal combustion engine versus the EV engine, EV. So EV has entire portfolio of battery which is comprised of 40% of its total part. And if you see the projected sales, still there was no such more accounting of sales in the EV in the future. If we start with the financial year 27, the projection of EV sales increasing when there was the strict legislation is coming that ICE engine will be closed or the petrol will be not supplied. Till then, the people are more focusing on the ICE engine because the cost of the EV versus ICE is still EV is higher. My study limits with the public data, limited scope, accuracy, subjectivity, and no primary data availability because there is the EV is now starting from 2018. Before that, there was no data of Congo and various other countries how they are mining these parts. To analyze the ESG impact in the automobile industries, EV industries, I have in environment impact, I will consider the life cycle, one of the part life cycle assessment because this is the most focus area for the EV industry. That's why they are transiting from the low carbon emissions, from the high carbon to the low carbon. Social impacts, how that they employ the employment in the manufacturing industries, product safety parts, and the various safety and governance related to the parts. Governance is all of our industry focus, and my industry is basically the Tata Motors. You all might know about the Tata Motors. They are the leaders in the commercial business, and the EV they are also passenger vehicles. They are very core product portfolio, EV business, and EV they are the first EV makers in the India, which comes from the Tata Nexon. Also in the coming future, they are coming with the Tiago, Altroz, and various others. If you see the ratings of the ESG in the Tata Motors, it is decreasing. It's not decreasing. Actually, if you see the sustainability, decreasing means the benefit. It's great for them and for the so second part. This 64 is basically S&P score. It's increasing means it's the best. So they are increasing and the ratings are increasing. They are getting better and better in the this and the EV is the one of the factor that helps in the increasing their ESG score. I have searched with the Mahindra, Maruti, Tata. Mahindra is leader in the ESG starting from their profile, but now the Tata is capturing the market, starting their activities in various parts. And I have analyzed the various MSCI rating, S&P and sustainability ratings. Now how the Tata become ESG way forward? How they become leader in the ESG? They have the some statistical levers, maturity metrics, operation decarbonization, signing circular economy, and life cycle assessment. If you see that there are three pillars in their sustainability, mobility, sustainability product stewardships, and sustainable operations. In the materiality, they have. These are the materiality metrics for them. For public commitment, they are committed to the RE100 by financial 2030. They have achieved the science-based target and registered the science-based target, and net zero. They are following the net zero. They are proposing their all operation will be RE100 by 2030, and they have started for these activities. And this is their net zero for their total profile, how they move from ICE engine to the EV. And this they have also demonstrated in their last financial year integrated reports. And for EV transition, they started from the battery localization of the EV batteries market. For electrification of batteries, they increased. And circular, if focusing on the circular economy, they are the first which are I am focused on the IMDS and IMDS and public disclosure of IMDS. Pro-life for the recondition of the vehicles. They have declared IDs is the vehicle dismantling information for their life cycle aspects. If you see, they are increasing their recycling, reuse and recycle. This is the percentage of increasing in year on year of the increase. If we consider the life cycle with respect to the CO2, this is they have done the life cycle assessment for their vehicle and considering if end of life based on the recycling, the end of life cycle they reduce 6 tons of CO2. And comparing all the ICE and EV engine, they also done these parts. But one thing is important, if we decarbonize, we need to decarbonize, so we need to change our our electrical mix. Currently the power grid is the coal based, we need to change from coal to the certain other renewable parts so that in future, this is an example where this is the current scenario where the one vehicle 1 year 17,000 kg of CO2 emits. If same vehicle run on the power grid factor of 2.27 means increasing the renewable factor, that the emission of CO2 reduced by around 5 times. Yeah, this is the last slide. So I'll conclude by that it's the EV, changing to the EV is the one of the requirement for the new age customers. OEMs and startups are required to more focusing sustainable recycling, future health and collaboration and partnership together go to the increasing this part. Thank you. This year started, one of the unit, Agartha, if you search the Google, the joint venture Tata's, they started with with different companies to recycling start this purpose. And they are establishing this factory for recycling only. Currently there are 2 companies in the Kenya, I forgot their name, they have started, they have venture with them for recycling part of lithium.
But you require a big setup for that.
That's why big setup. And hence the policies.
So it has to be collected from all the places.
Yes.
That's
why EPR is come now. That now EPR, e-waste EPR, the lithium is also added and it's become a part of collecting that.
I had a similar battery that leads to the mining, which again is going to be the environmental disaster in the future thing. And my second thing is about how flexible are the people to change from the petroleum to this thing. I mean, we could come up with petroleum with better engines, or we can come with the diesel with the AdBlue technology also, or we can put the catalytic converter into the engines to produce less of the CO2s then.
Yeah. Is EV. There is no currently there was no comparison. Currently in the manufacturing waste, ICE has a benefit over the EV. Because rightly you say the battery has a certain various manufacturing issues and collection supply chain, and we have to collect from the different other countries. That's why the Indian government has started the PLI scheme of manufacturing the batteries, lithium-ion batteries in the countries only. Yeah. In the country only. That which helps the reducing the supply chain issues, and also the manufacturing of batteries helps in reducing the other aspects. Means now that localization helps recycling the batteries aspect, lithium. Still the lithium is available only from the outside the country.
Yeah, but wherever it is inside the country or outside the country, we are looking at the global of the earth basically. So even if we are doing it inside the country, so we are still going to the mining sector then, and which is going to have a negative impact.
Certainly, but that's why the policies are coming up for more and more recycling. That's why EPR is coming, that says increasing. If you see the battery waste management rule, it says by 2027 the battery aspect would be 70% recycled. Means they increase the recycling aspect.
So thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for him. Now, I request the analyst working with Alex Institute, Microsafe, to come on stage and give a presentation.
Hello everyone. I'm very excited to present this topic because it is not like I started discovering this topic from the past 9 months. But I think the moment I was aware that the time it takes for one part to decompose, it really shook me. That's why I chose this topic. I would like to ask you how many sanitary pads are used per month in India? Any rough estimate? 1 month.
1 month.
A billion.
Yes.
My one also say I collect almost 1 billion.
Yes.
15,000 celebrities per day.
Yes.
1 billion.
So it takes 1 billion pads per month consumed by the menstruating women. And overall it takes 12 billion pads per year. So this is the study by WaterAid India. Now the next question is, where are the 12 billion pads being disposed? So the study says 28% disposed along with the routine waste, 28% disposed in open, 33% buried, and 28% burned in open. In this presentation, I covered broadly 6 topics, just an introduction, then a product analysis of menstrual hygiene products, then business opportunity related to this industry, ESG integration, innovation, and concluding remarks. The unsolved mystery here in this is why, first question is why sustainable menstrual hygiene is important. Because millions of girls, women, transgender men, non-binary persons are unable to manage their menstrual cycle. However, the production, use, disposal of menstrual hygiene products have a significant environmental and health hazards. If you come to the figure, 1.8 billion estimated people menstruate each month across globe. And if you see an average to 6,120 pads versus 136 reusable pads and 7 reusable menstrual cups are consumed by women in their life cycle. Moving on, I've mentioned the purpose and a broader idea of the market size of this industry. If you see, 689 million is the menstrual hygiene market in India, whereas 39 billion for the global feminine hygiene product market. If you see, still 60% has the disposable pads component, 30% on cloth pads, and 10% on biodegradable pads. So if you can see, there is still a huge scope where we can switch to a more sustainable product. I've done secondary research to conduct the study. Also, I did a survey with consumers like me who use these products. So I've used snowballing sampling method where I've reached out to women and then they reached out to other working women who are using these products. So when we're talking about product analysis, I'll briefly take you through. These are the broader products that covers under the menstrual hygiene products. This is the product life cycle. Raw material extraction, product manufacturing, then post to distribution, post product usage. When it comes to sanitary napkin, we generally think that cotton is the material that is being used, but there are other materials that are used in those bags. If you see the life cycle assessment of the menstrual products, so it is clearly cradle to grave. Even though single use pads are come into picture, tampons, reusable pads, or menstrual cup. However, we need to see that menstrual cup, they have a very lowest impact on the environment. Coming to the business opportunity, here we have seen in India, there is a 551% increase in the startups that have come in the menstrual hygiene industry. And here is a glimpse of the popular brands that are there in the country. When I spoke about consumer preferences, still disposable pads are clearly the winner here. However, other factors that I asked these women, they said comfort, ease of use, environmental impact are those factors, but it is not subject to, like, they only chose one, but they need a combination of these factors. When it comes to the importance of menstrual hygiene products being environmental friendly, so the respondents said 50% said, 58% said they are very important to them. So I can see there is still a hope that we can switch to more sustainable products, and also they show the willingness to move to menstrual hygiene products. Now the unsolved mystery here. When I was doing the research, I could not find any sustainable reports that are available when it comes to menstrual hygiene products, because there are big players in the market, but they have a broader umbrella of covering these topics. So there's no specific report that any brand has put into it. Okay. So I'll talk about the risk here. Environmental, if you see, a lot of emission comes into picture when it comes to risk. If you see the emissions, here I've mentioned that in our life cycle, approximately 360 kgs CO2 emission happens using one-time disposable pads or tampons. Social also, I was very surprised to see. I've never checked any label before this study. I came to know that since it comes out as a medical product, you are not mandatory to put what goes inside those pads. So there are a lot of toxins that make these pads very harmful, not only for the environment but also for your personal health. Also, no transparency, so governance level risk is also there. So I decided maybe if nothing is there, so maybe based on the 9 months of study that we have gone through, so let me take an attempt to do a stakeholder mapping. So here I've taken who could be the major stakeholder in this and try to engage how they can be engaged, their power, influence, their area of interest, and the typology. Another I've done is the materiality assessment. I've taken 15 major topics and then based on that, here is the materiality assessment of the menstrual hygiene industry. It is clearly based on the knowledge that I've gained in the past 9 months. Here could be the 6 ways to integrate ESG into the menstrual hygiene companies. First could be to assess their current state, doing the gap assessment, then defining the objectives and KPIs, developing strategies. Another would be to implement those strategies, then monitor and then review. So it is a loop that we need to follow if we want to have ESG integration into menstrual hygiene companies. There are a lot of innovations now which is happening here in this industry. A lot of fibers that we can see here have come out as a good biodegradable source. And one company that I came across promotes menstrual cups primarily, but also have very cotton-based menstrual pads. My last concluding remark would be to integrate ESG into menstrual hygiene industry, because it is not just the environment, it is also the personal health and also the transparency that we need at the governance level. So that is the last message I would like to say. Let's move towards safe and sustainable period. Thank you so much for your time.
Question for you. You said that these products are also harmful for personal health. So I want to ask you what recommendations you have for the state or central government to create awareness among the consumers, for this kind of products, so that they are aware, and also for the manufacturers, how they can be, restricted to use these kind of harmful substances less, so that the people or consumers are not affected.
I think that's a great question. So first, for government, I think awareness not to end just to end period poverty, but also to impose safer measure to pads disposal, because then we wrap it into another plastic and then we don't know where to, because even adults and women are also shy in terms of where to throw these used pads. So I think proper menstrual hygiene management should be there in terms of not just telling them use pads but also how to dispose them. And also we need to invest more on research and development, because we need to design those, because women clearly want to prefer comfort. Environment is one of the factors, but I think we need to invest more on research and development. If the product is cheaper in terms of cost and are comfortable, I think it is a win-win for companies and for end consumer also.
No, you didn't answer the question. She asked you, the manufacturing of the pads, what you said, what is harmful?
Sir,
you said it is harmful. No, some of the pads don't have
yeah.
But what is the material they are using which is harmful?
So a lot of time, actually it is there in my thesis, I can show it because I So there are a lot of chemicals, because when it comes to attaching a pad, there are a lot of chemicals that is used.
Chemicals used by body.
Yeah.
Body material is not safe.
Yeah, and also, sir, it is not. They have not labeled it on the cover packaging.
Okay, that this is being
Yeah. So that is one of the
details about that.
Yeah, sure.
So basically it is a mislabeling.
That's what sort of we understood, because here you work 9 months to give your details to me as an environment minister and what you recommend, what we should do. We call the company, then we will have to start telling people that this company is not doing this, what it was so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, one more question. It's a very, very important topic you have touched upon. And to be frank, I was at least not aware that we are using 1 billion pads per month. That's a huge sanitary.
There are others.
Huge. There are sanitary pads which are biodegradable. And at least one lady I know in Goa entrepreneur, Riya Patil, she manufactures that here in Korlim Industrial Estate in Goa itself. So she is into this business. So this is one of the points I wanted to make.
Sir, even when I was doing the research, I was
biodegradable. Yeah, there's a problem with the quantities are. The second problem here is, for this type of business to sustain, you need a market reach and a production capacity which is not there. And these companies who are in this business are huge, and they don't let small players survive. So that is another.
No, we can do that. The government can do that. Since the law is support. Laws can be made. Some give you a report. You tell what chemicals you want to use. You tell this company that will go out and start working. Thank you.
May I call Sudarshan Jayamurthy, Representative Business, Ambika Murthy, or Abhinami Murthy, sorry. No, sorry. Okay. My apologies, please. Abhinami Arunachal, business person, for giving her presentation. Prize to of progress.
For having me here. So, am I audible? Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Today I'm going to talk about the price of charges. So typically I'm going to talk about investigating the trade-offs and conglomerates pursuit towards ESG goals. So when we talk about a lot of different industries, typically one thing which we know in our back of our mind is most of the industries together are put under conglomerates. So how the conglomerates are looking into ESG and how they are venturing into the pursuit of getting into ESG is very important. So hence I have taken up this as the topic for my thesis. So the overall content is going to be, I'm going to just give a brief intro about ESG and then the study introduction, and then talk about 3 of the conglomerates that I've taken as a sample analysis, which is Aditya Birla, Siemens and Unilever. And I'll also give a brief overview about the life cycle assessment from Ultratech Siemens, and then talk about the trade-offs and what are the optimization strategies that can be used or can be taken off from the study based on the conglomerates work that they've been doing till now, and present the conclusions in the end. So the basis of this is The whole paper is based on how the conglomerate is actually looking into their environment, social and governance aspects, and what are the trade-offs that they are encountering in their day-to-day operations of the whole company as a whole. So for this, the main thing is first is to understand ESG. So we've been talking a lot about ESG till now. So the basic is we are using three main factors: environment, social and governance, to see how they be used in every aspect in the company. So when we talk about CSR, it is 2% of what the company is doing for giving back to the society. But the other 98% is the ESG aspect. So what are they doing sustainably to look forward and to help the government, to help the society, to help the whole world as a whole to take it forward for the carbon net emission zero. So the mentioned points here are few of the metrics. So for environment, we typically talk about the climate change because that is the main thing that we need to talk about right now. Taking the 2-degree pledge that we've been making, and the carbon emissions that the companies and the industries are giving out right now, the air, water pollution, biodiversity, deforestation. Similarly, when we talk about social, the main aspects now people are talking a lot about is diversity and inclusion, equity, how the labor practices are being there, are there enough gender parity involved, are there proper human rights, there are labor standards which is being set out, right? And when we talk about governance in general, when all of this needs to be there, the conglomerate definitely needs to have a proper governance in place. Their board needs to be diverse. They need to have people from different gender, different background, different independent directors who are there. Do they have enough policies and processes in place so that this would be a long-term effort where they would be able to take it forward. So this is some of the categories that I would be also assessing the companies in the future. And what is the main importance and what is the benefit and the challenges that the conglomerate faces when we talk about conglomerate? Now, when the whole the event started, sir initially mentioned about Grasim Industries, which have started being net zero. Grasim Industries is part of Aditya Birla Group, but the other companies are still venturing out and they are still traveling to their net zero aspects. So the thing is, the benefit of the whole thing would be really humongous. Their financial performance or their whole stakeholder reputation, their engagement and their market access, all of that would be a very huge process, but like very huge plus. But the biggest problem for them is the complexity, because they are present over 14 industries. So many industries are present into them that makes them very complexified. Like they need to keep changing it again and again because they are geographically located in different aspects as well. So they are located in different places. Industry size differs. The people whom they are catering differs. So that becomes really complex. And the stakeholders engagement, because most of them are present in stocks and they're present in the stock market. So the engagement also differs. What the company wants, sometimes the stakeholders do not want. So those kind of trade-offs become really challenging to them. So their ethical dilemmas, their cultural and behavioral challenges which they've been facing. So for this study, I've been taking three. So one is Aditya Birla Group, another one is Siemens AG, and the third one is Unilever Group. The reason I took these three is Aditya Birla is predominantly present in India. So it talks about what is happening in India. Siemens AG is a German company, and they talk about their energy, healthcare and transportation. And Unilever, we all know, we've used all of their products, mostly all of them. So this is a multinational conglomerate. So the reason why these three were taken is because we'll have an insight into the different geographical area and what each of the companies is doing and what they can do and how much they have come across and what they would be doing further as well. And moving on, the main thing which I want to say here is the study is very limited. The main reason is because this is done by secondary data one, and there's no primary data involved. So I've not talked with anybody directly in the companies. So in the future there can be an area of including it in the future as well for a future scope. So the accuracy is, the quality is reliable on the annual reports and the sustainability records and the newspapers and all of that which I have read through, and therefore this is a limited scope thing. So the address of the dimensions might be limited, and the ESG nature, as we already know, is evolving. So we would be always seeing that this keeps evolving over and over again. And moving forward, now when I talked about all of this, I told about environment, social and governance. So in Aditya Birla, I've taken 5 main environmental aspects. So the greenhouse gas emission, energy consumption, water management, waste management and biodiversity conservation. So these 5 aspects are being talked about in each of the 3 industries. And for Aditya Birla, their target is to reduce their GHG emission at least to 25% by 2030. But for the energy, it is by 15% by 2030. And they want to at least, reduce their have no net loss biodiversity by 2030. So when they have a very humongous amount of targets involved, what they have been doing till now is they have been able to get their scope 1 and scope 2 done, but they are still working on their GHG baseline scope 3 across the current industry. So for one industry, they've been able to do it, but when you talk everyone, they're still struggling to get all the scope 3 done because it's very humongous. And the energy, they've been consuming around 1.73 terawatts of hours in 2020, but they've been able to reduce 15%. But still, there's still a lot of places to go. They're investing in renewable energy. At the same time, their water recycling is reduced to 12.16%. And at the same time, they're also having waste generation, which is around 92% is non-hazardous. But they want to at least have like 0 waste landfills to 2030. So the goals that they've set for the whole company is really humongous. But the path they are going still needs a lot of work to look into it. Oh, sorry. So similarly, when we talk about the DE, so we're talking only about the main points here. They're still working on their DEI. So they have only 20% of women in their board now. It's not even 50. They have the product and safety and control, but they still need to work on it a lot because there's a lot of problems which is arising for them. Typically, there was a lot of news where they've come, and there's a lot of places where they have been talked about and scrutinized upon. The main point where I was able to see a difference over here is their board was too tired. So they have one managemental board and they have one supervisory board. So that means the whole, the one managing and the one telling out the rules are different. That helps in ESG. So they would not be able to manipulate it. So that was one thing. Another one was IT enabler. So this one I would explain in the next slides. And similarly for Siemens, when we talk about Siemens, the same way I've analyzed in all the 3. So to talk about the main thing what Siemens does is, all of their work is typically into research and development, where they've invested a lot into renewable energy and how they can enhance the energy in their company. So they have put up a lot of plans, they have put a lot of investments into renewable energy, and they are still yet to get into the 50% of women target. Their target is for 30% in 2025. At the same time, the one good thing I found about Siemens was they have explicitly mentioned in their report that how much their CEO was drawing the salary, what is the reason, how was it, what is the salary which is there, base salary, bonus and all of that is mentioned over there. When we talk about Unilever, the one thing which I was able to see hugely in them was they had a lot of biodiversity related aspects. So even though they had a lot of CO2 emissions, they had a lot of production emissions which was coming into them, there was a lot of water management. They were able to present a lot of they were transparent, but they are able to compensate all of that only through by their biodiversity conservation, where they are planning to at least regenerate 1.5 million hectares of land and water by 2030. So, yeah. So typically, this is the main comparative analysis analysis I was able to get it done in it, and just due to this is the life cycle assessment which was there. So one thing which I took the reason I took UltraTech cement was because they had a circularity in there. So the byproduct of Hindalco is being used into the raw material of UltraTech. So it is being done in a circularity, and where they are able to put it into a tandem into the complement. That was a good point which I wanted to showcase here. So in the optimization strategy, I'll just take 1 minute more to finish it.
This is audience time.
I'm really sorry. The thing is, I'm skipping off the trade-off and I'm going to the end alone, because the one thing which we see here is the way they can take it forward is for data analytics and identifying and managing risk. That was really very well managed by Aditya Birla, because they did something called as IT as enabler. They have something called as enabler DMS system. So they take 6 metrics across which they measure, and then they report it across the overall group in the head. And these people again take the risk assessment and take it. So that was a good point. And another one which I saw was partnering with startups. So that was with Unilever, and the long term was with Siemens, where they had a sustainable digital enterprise by 2030, and reporting and transparency and embracing the culture of sustainability, which Unilever has a sustainability hub at London, and they also have a whole program as Unilever for a better future. And I think I'm done, sorry.
Yeah. So you can flag the conclusion.
Sorry for rushing it. Yeah, please tell.
I help in flashing the conclusion slide also as a moderator. If any questions, please most welcome for the hand. Once again, applause for the man representations.
Policy is when you find something wrong in the
Because I am aware, I understand policy. What do you suggest?
What's your suggestion?
What is your suggestion, I'm asking? I know what is whistleblower. So, for improving the rules, what is the whistleblower you will suggest to the government?
For the governance aspect, one thing where you can see is whistleblower is, as a policy, is present across all the 3 components which I talked about. But the point where it comes into a debate is when the whistleblower policy, there's a complaint which is being given, right? That is being given, for example, if this is in a plant down at Hosur, the policies, the complaint goes to the person who is in the head of that own person.
No, whistleblower for governance. You said governance in the governance part. You said we have to make a policy for whistleblowers where...
No, I said that it is mentioned, like they have a policy down there.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more question.
See, third parties, operations, they give it to the small companies for transparency. Have you seen in their studies, they have imposed any regulations on their suppliers?
That is why they are facing a lot of problems. When I said that Unilever and all of them are facing a lot of problems, especially in South Africa and Myanmar, they are facing a lot of problems in the supply chain policy, because they are not able to put them into a sustainable matrix, like for labor practices especially, and how they are treating and whom they are involving for their labor, what child labor and all of that. So they have been already scrutinized for it, and they have also taken little bit metrics. For example, the recent study which they were, the third auditor was done by KPMG. So they had told that this was the problem that they are facing. So they have already started I've put that in the thesis, like they put like 3 more points where they have to start including it and start working upon it. But they have a really hard task managing their supply chain, because they also need to have a lot of hand-on control over it, which they are now only starting to have. The suppliers will come to the next point, so it will take much more time.
We move to the next presentation by Sudarshan Jayamurthy. He will be dealing with the ESG integration in dairy industry.
Thank you, Nilesh ji. मैंने सोचा मेरा presentation चाय पे चर्चा हो जाएगा. So good that he offered to take this presentation. First, let me recall what Mr. Patil said, which was a very powerful statement when he said, I don't mind giving the license, but I want to know the intent behind getting that license. You know, it is a very powerful governance statement which he made when he addressed us. And this is what is actually the statement of purpose which every entrepreneur should have. So today when I did this whole presentation, when I went to a milk company called Parag Milk in Mumbai, which has a plant in Manchar, Pune, when the entrepreneur said, you know, I want to do business with the least harm to the environment. I mean, that actually gave a different flip to the whole thing, because we have competitors in this field like Amul, Dodla, Heritage. We have a lot of milk companies. In fact, if you think of one 1 liter, I would say, basically at least my family saves close to 3,65,000 liters per year. Now, where am I coming from? Very simple, we don't consume milk. Because 1 liter of milk takes close to 1,000 liters of water. No, this is not about adding water to the milk. It is allowing the water to get added to the milk, which is in the process of cultivation, in the process of so many other things. So, where I am coming from is, from this whole presentation, every entrepreneur, if you really look at it, like Mr. Patil also spoke on cradle to grave, and when he was just walking away from here, he said, what is very important is also the grave part of it. And the same entrepreneur, when he goes to the satsang, Babaji tells this entrepreneur, beta, only thing which is certain is death. Now this entrepreneur doesn't understand, whose death. See, what is very important from this intent, which I am trying to put across here, with the problem statement which I have, which is 4. From the milk point of view, 1 is water, 2nd is energy, the 3rd one comes is the carbon emission, and the 4th one is the animal welfare. So, these are the 4 parameters which I have taken to discuss today. And what is very astonishing is this company, particularly this Parag, try to tell me that these 4 parameters they are taking care in various different forms. The first one, water. When I told you very casually that 1,000 liters of water is what is getting consumed. Now this is one company which came and said we are doing a zero liquid discharge. No, zero liquid discharge is a very common term which most of us know. What happens is the generation of the water till the water gets disposed of, this company gives an account of every drop of water that is consumed. The second thing which they said is the square meter of land. Every liter of milk consumes close to 0.7 square meters of land. Now the third thing is on the carbon emission, where methane is an indirect form of carbon. Of course, now it's all become carbon equivalent. So when you look at methane, it gets converted. It is around 0.3 kilo is what gets consumed in the form of carbon emission. And lastly, of course, the animal welfare. When you talk about the animal welfare, now all of us know where this cow comes from, where it goes. Now, how do I treat these cows? I mean, they have their annual report. If you have, whenever you find time, try to download. They have this thing where they have said how the cows are treated, how they are fed, the carbon emission thing which they said they mitigate. No, it's okay. You gave me only 7 minutes. So. No, I didn't put it, but it's okay. So, carbon emission, the food. Please understand, the food that you feed to the cow also matters when it comes to the carbon emission. So, here is an analysis where these people have gone ahead and said each and every stage, how do we mitigate this whole thing pertaining to the dairy? Why I choose this dairy industry is because it's also part of the FMCG sector, but the way it is approached, I mean, I have nothing to say about Amul or any of the competitors, but all I have is a 4-slide presentation which I will just justify, telling you how this company has done to ensure these 4 problem statements are mitigated. Yeah, so this is water. So basically if you see, I mean the consumption of water, and if you just go to the last paragraph where all that we are saying is how this whole thing gets treated and how this 100% of the water gets back to the system to get into the farms to grow the, the feeds and all of that for the cow. So first level, the water. Then we have energy. Now from an energy point of view, yes, solar is a very big thing which they have invested and they have done in the factory. But apart from solar, now if you look at it, the LED lights and other lighting system, and most importantly, please understand energy. The energy consumption comes in the form of the tankers which carry the milk. Tankers and the storage for the finished goods of theirs, all of these are at about minus 18 degrees is what they consume. Cheese, for example, they export it to US. Now it has to go at minus 18. So Where the innovation comes is to use those refrigeration system to move towards a more energy conserving system. Okay, next is methane. Yeah, all of us know cow right from the time it breathes, it's methane. So the mitigation that they have tried to put in place are things like managed in a way where methane emission. What they try and do is the manure. Now again the dung which comes out of it, they have put up a lovely biogas plant out there in the factory itself, and that biogas factory again gets back into the system in the form of energy. Yeah, this is the biogas plant which is put in the plant. Then of course there are some innovative ways of milking the cow, which is into the robotic stuff. Now when I went there, we saw everything is computerized in the sense if the cow has a fever, that cow is not even milked. It just goes into the line and gets out of that particular circular thing. So all of these things helps, one, for the community, for the cow, and for the betterment of the human life. Okay, now with that, yeah. EPR, of course. The two things which remain a mystery from my perspective are the plastic and the methane. Plastic, as again Mr. Patil had mentioned we cannot become a zero plastic. It's all a myth that the world will become a zero plastic, because plastic will be here to be. Only thing is, how does this plastic get back into the system, how it can get corrected. Now again, one more thing he commented, because he saw my t-shirt and it was too, red in color. He said there is a person sitting with a, no, this does not have 70% plastic alone, it's not. Now this is the case of Ganesha Ecosphere. There is a company today in country which recycles the plastic, and maybe 40% of what I am wearing is out of my recycled plastic. So the ecosystem is, because they also manufacture this polythene yarns and all that out of the recycled plastic. So, summing up, what I want to say is, the study out here very clearly says there can be companies which are well governed, who know how to treat lot of these things which are coming out of the system, and that I would put it as a responsible business, and that is where sustainability is heading to. Any questions, please?
Their claim of 100% water recycling and use.
Yeah.
My understanding is that they don't run their farms. They are more collection and processing of milk. They are more collection and processing of milk.
Okay, now they have also started the farm, which is they have started getting the cows. They have the plan of 20,000 cows in the future. That is their milk production. They buy it from the farmers also, and partly it is out of the in-house production.
So the claim about water management to 100% recycling is only to the extent of what they are part of the process they are handling.
Correct.
Not total.
No.
I just wanted to.
And there is a nice point arising out of that, which is the value chain partners, they don't do anything. So that's a gap with the system. They don't get into the farmer's business. So yeah. If there are no questions, yeah. Thank you for the patient listening, and yeah.
Very aptly covered in the allocated time from the moderator also. Now, I request next presenter, Venugopal R. He is covering industrial, commercial aspect. He is expecting real estate industry. Over to you.
Thank you for this opportunity. So I'll quickly cover what I had in mind. So all of them presented are different products. My product is a building. So we are actually inside the product, right? So coming to the real estate industry, there are many types of real estate. It can be a commercial real estate, residential real estate. Then there's a hospitality real estate where we have hotels and restaurants, and also there is the other institutional type of real estate that is there. Now, my focus is on the commercial real estate where we have offices and IT parks, etc. So this will be the flow of the presentation. For my consideration, I have taken three commercial real estate companies, Godrej, DLF and Embassy, and I have also double clicked on Godrej on their best practices. So few industry overview, how much does this real estate contribute to the E, S and G part of it? Coming to the economic standpoint, it contributes close to 13% of India's GDP. So that's how big this industry is. And if you look at it, more than 50% of India is yet to be built, right? And this industry contributes to more than 40% of the GHG emissions that are going to be there. So if we are thinking of a net zero carbon by 2070, we cannot think about it without decarbonizing the real estate industry. So that is a given from these data points. And when you look at a building, there are different aspects that we need to look at. Not only that's just the environment part, which is the carbon. There's a lot of workforce that is employed in the making of a building. And also after the building is built, there's a facility management team. There are multiple stakeholders who are involved, which I will cover in the next slide. So their safety, their wellness, their health also becomes an important aspect, and the communities around it. We cannot destroy an entire community and build a G+20 office building and say that, hey, I'm contributing to the GDP of this economy, right? So that is something that comes from the social and governance aspect of it. Coming to the trends that are there is increasing demand because there's a lot of investments that are pouring in this area, and India is seen as a hub for tech, right? So right now there's a lot of work from home that happens, but this meeting happening in Goa, many of us flying down from different parts of the country, means that physical meeting also has their own impact, and many of them will also have a hybrid way of working. So there is also an increased demand for co-working spaces. That is another trend that is happening. Then there's a lot of infrastructure development. There are different roads that are getting laid. There's a lot of airports that are coming up. So all of them are also connected to the commercial real estate development that is happening. And as I told you earlier, there's the FDI, the foreign direct investments. A lot of investments are happening through different investment trusts called REITs and sustainability. So in real estate, the sustainability aspect comes from the angle of green buildings. So these are the large, just to give you the size of these companies, these are multi-million dollar companies who are having different projects across India. And if you look at the square feet that they are covering, they are mini cities that are actually put inside buildings. So that's how big these buildings are. So just to look at the value chain, how it works. There's the manufacturing part of it. If you look at the supply chain, there's cement manufacturers, steel manufacturers. One of my colleagues also presented on Ultratech cement, which is one of the part of this value chain. Then we also have the real estate advisors who give understanding to the occupiers. Hey, there's a list of these different buildings, and these buildings can be benchmarked as A class, B class, C class, etc. So there's a lot of decision making that goes behind choosing a particular space, and there ESG is getting integrated, right? When an occupier looks for a space, they ask for a green building rated, and they ask for spaces that have good ESG practices. So that is one trend that is coming in. So there are also the regulations, there are also the investors and the government authorities who have a lot of impact on many of these stakeholders. So this is a large materiality matrix. So of course it will get impacted by climate, and we have the responsibility of the workers. There's a lot of problem that the migration workers faced during COVID. So they had to walk all the way along to their homes. That's a very important aspect because that has actually impacted the real estate industry also. It's the migration workers who suffered and also the industry which had suffered, right? So these are all aspects that we cannot let it aside. So these are the different angles of engagement that companies work with different stakeholders. So coming to the green building movement, it started somewhere around 2000 and it's been the last 2 decades. It started with one building and today we have more than 10 million square foot of green rated spaces. Now there are 3 major green rating agencies: IGBC, the Indian Green Building Council, then GRIHA from the Energy Research Institute, and USGBC from the lead from USGBC. So the leader is IGBC, Indian Green Building Council, who have more than some out of 10 buildings are rated by them. So why should a developer or a real estate company move towards ESG or move towards adopting sustainable practices? There are some incentives. Sustainability is not just looked as a cost. It can be a profit also. Because when you invest in a better energy efficient technology, over the lifetime, it can prove to be profitable. And there are also incentives from the government for going for a green building and an energy efficient building. So coming to the growth trends, a lot of aspect has been done on the operational efficiency, which means while running the building you can be efficient. But what about making the building? When you make the building, there is a carbon emission, which is called the embodied carbon. Can we look for materials that emit lesser carbon? So that is a question that developers are asking today. And occupiers also want to occupy buildings that are net zero. Now from green building, everybody is moving towards net zero building, which means it's like a accounting that you do to understand how much you have spent and how much you have conserved, to understand what we are reaching as net zero. So it can be in waste, energy, water, and now it's in carbon also. And everybody is talking about wellness. Now, moving from green building, they are talking about well building. So these are the different scope. Scope 1 is in the running of the building. Scope 2 is in the electricity that we buy from, the basic electricity that we get. That's the emission that comes from it. And scope 3, this is the most important part, which is the larger part of the 3 scopes. And one important thing to notice is there are some companies who cannot track their scope 3. The reason being, the supply chain is does not consist only of larger companies. There are also many MSMEs that are working, and there are also many companies who don't have the data, ESG data or the LCA data, the life cycle analysis data. So we don't know how much does 1 meter cube of cement consume. How much does 1 meter cube of cement emit carbon? Without that, I cannot know how much does my building emit, right? So that data is one of the concerns that is there. So that is one of the unsolved mysteries that we could identify. Then these are some of the best practices. Of course, many of them adopt green spaces. The social aspect for the workers, for the occupiers, and for the employees. That is something, and for the communities. Then the governance part, this company has also taken a lot of whistleblower policies and zero tolerance policies within their company. I also used Sustainalytics to benchmark different companies. Lendlease is one of the global leaders, and against that, some of the Indian companies are actually looking to be lower risk investments. And this is another study from MSCA. One company data was not available, but there are some Indian companies who are also global leaders. So that is one interesting insight that we could get. And this is a very unique rating for ESG in real estate. GRESB is a different rating system, and they give a point score. So all the 3 companies that I study have a 90+ score in GRESB, which means that they are leading in many of the ESG initiatives that they are taking up. So what challenges? One challenge is this needs effort. ESG for a real estate company needs effort in terms of, in terms of implementing many of the initiatives, in terms of reporting. This is something new for them. Unless if they are a listed company, it might need a slight push from the occupier. When Amazon or a Google or Microsoft is occupying a building, they look for companies which are having strong net zero goals, companies which are having strong ESG policies. Some companies only look at the cost. So there will be a shift that will happen, but this will take time. So that is where the challenge lies, and this will also need a lot of skilled personnel within the real estate companies and also in the occupiers. So the whole ecosystem will need a lot of upskilling that will be needed. In terms of benefit, if your building is a green rated building, you can get not only the cost savings over the life cycle, but also you can sell it at a premium, right? If your occupant is going to benefit in terms of the savings in electricity, you can actually pitch that point to the occupant and actually charge a premium. So that is a business angle that we can bring into the developers. And there is also an increasing level of incentives from the government for adopting green buildings, quicker approvals for green rated buildings. So there are some screenshots that I had shared on this. So some conclusions and recommendations. One, there is a need for regulation in terms of how to calculate some of these numbers. For a building level, still those standards are not available with BIS. So there's a lot of work that is happening behind the screen, and soon there will be some regulation in terms of how to calculate the carbon footprint for a building level in India. And there are also other, other challenges technological challenges in terms of moving towards a low carbon economy for the buildings. Even if you take a green building, is it green from a water consumption? Is it green from a waste consumption? these are all areas that many of the developers are working on. Then coming to the governance aspect, of course, a lot of digitization has happened in the real estate also. There's something called the building information model. Now, the facility manager can understand what is happening in which floor. If something is going wrong, they can understand from the software. So a lot of digitization is happening at the building level. Now that will also go towards the company level. These are some of the recommendations that has come, and the supply chain, the supply will always follow the demand, right? So we cannot just make something in surplus and expect that it will get sold. So the demand should come from the occupier. So many of these occupiers are taking tall net zero targets, tall ESG targets, and slowly that will also come down the value chain. That is when the real estate also will become more, adopt more ESG practices. So that's what I had, and I'm open for any questions. Yes. Say for example, there are multiple stakeholders I show. There's a structural engineer who says that this beam should come here. Then there is an electrical engineer who will say that the duct should come like this. What happens is, during the construction, they will realize that, okay, as per the structural drawing, they will have raised it. Then when they are putting the MEP, which is the the wiring, etc., then this beam is on the root of the wiring. They have to remove that beam, which means you have spent waste of concrete, waste of steel, waste of labor, the transportation. All this has had social impact, environmental impact. With the digitalization, you can actually do something called as a clash identification. So this is intersecting, that software will say, hey, this is in the path of your wiring, don't do this. So a lot of digitization has happened in that area. That's why governance and the digitization and BIM is related.
Very good.
Thank you. One more question was there.
No, my question was, see, if you talk about the building, but doesn't that also encompass all that is in, let's say, even a furniture or anything of that sort? So how do you, who is responsible for that? The builder, the one who's using it, the one who's leasing it?
Yeah, so there is always this concept of share. So when builder makes the building, he leases it out to an occupier. Then the occupier is responsible for that space. Even in my case, I occupied a home recently. A tap got broke. The owner said that, hey, it is now your property, you have to repair it. So good or bad, it is your property, so you have to take that ownership. Like someone else said, it has to come from within. So that is one angle of it. But it all comes in the contract. So while signing the contract, each occupier has something called as an MPC, which is a minimum performance criteria. Many of these ESG criteria and the DEA criteria, the S and G of it, including the S and G of it, can be included in the MPC document itself. And then the developers will also make such reforms so that they can match the requirement of the customers. So that is how we should look at this problem. Thank you.
The real estate sector, there is a lot of unorganized part also.
True.
So in that, is there any, how we can implement ESG? Is there a governance way, or what is it? Or is it just the social which will be important?
So this again, should, as I told, is like a shared responsibility. If for example, I am buying sand, I am a glass manufacturer, I am buying sand from you, I should also ensure that you are following good environmental practices, etc. So in the governance part, I had listed one, since it was quick, I could not cover. There is a code of conduct for the suppliers. There is a code of validation that can be done for the vendors and suppliers. Through that, the supplier code of conduct can extend to ESG, and the person who wants their suppliers to comply to this should enable them. It should not be like you are not following, so I will not buy from you. So it will be like, currently you are having these problems, I will help you in upgrading. So that is how many of the larger companies are upgrading their supply chain. And in this supply chain, many of them are also MSMEs, like rightly you said. So one is this angle. Second angle is the digitization part. There are many small startups who are making the reporting aspect, who are making the technical aspect of calculating carbon footprint into a digital process which is easier. So that is another aspect that is coming up. Thank you.
Last presentation of the day by Annie Davis, growth consultant at EV Motors, masters in ESG from furniture industry. Over to Andy. So rightly we have got 1 or 2 minutes for deliberation amongst ourselves to ask some questions during the tea break, because we have made them to rush through the slides. And the last presentation thereafter, we will be continuing with the address for the first question and certificate award, followed by LSK chief guest.
Madam, you start. Your opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anne Davis. I am who stands between the team there and all of you. So I promise to be on time. I'm putting a timer here. Today I'm going to talk about sustainability in furniture industry. The reason why I chose furniture was I worked in this industry about a decade ago, and with some products it was love at first sight for me, and I wanted to bring it to focus and talk about it much. So when we talk about the global furniture industry, we're talking about 500 billion plus in value, and there are players across the globe. The most popular ones come from the United States, which are Herman Miller, Steelcase, HNI. China does play a role here. India is represented by companies like Godrej. Saudi has its own manufacturing company, and of course Europe also has a few luxurious sort of products. The drivers in this industry would be increasing infrastructure developments. All the buildings that Venus contractors are making will need furniture to be put into their buildings. The rising population, of course, there's more and more workforce coming into it, more and more people studying in institutes, more and more patients in hospitals. So obviously rising population, the home office demand that is generated by the COVID diseases, and rising disposable incomes. If you remember, our parents used to have one set of teak furniture that probably lasted all of our childhood. But today we keep changing. We want a different look, a different feel, and we keep buying and disposing furniture. And some of the trends that I would like to put is COVID had a good, bad impact on the business. In the sense, businesses had it bad, but residential furniture selling had it good. People were spending more and more time inside their homes, and they wanted more and more furniture to make their lives and the time they are spending better. And there was also seen a growth in online furniture sales. About 10-20 years ago, no one would expect to go and buy a furniture online, but now online furniture buying has seen a growth. There is an increased interest in sustainable products. People are asking, what are we going to do? Can we exchange old ones for new ones so that we don't need to throw it on the road and go into the landfills? There are more flexible workspaces, so each table at a company is being shared by more than one employee. So hence there needs to be flexibility in what people do. There is the lifestyle changes have led to obesity, and then there is a request for bigger sized chairs and furnitures. Yes, it's interesting, but it's a trend that we have noticed. I mentioned the players before. The opportunities that this industry has is custom-made or bespoke furnitures, the online sales that I mentioned before, smart furnitures, everything is smart now, including furniture. You have furniture that can feel how you're sitting, and massage chairs that massage as per your spinal, things, and you can connect to internet. IoT of things happening, contract furniture specially made for people, repair and restoration, I'll come to it later, growing demands, automation, robotics. In fact, the industry, as much as it comes out with products, is a very manual labor dependent industry. So automation and robotics will come into play, data analytics, of course. In today's world, nothing works without data. The challenges simply supply chain. I mean, I don't think there's any industry today that is not liable to these changes, but these more so because of the components that go into the product. Labor and skill shortage, like I said, it's a manual dependent labor cost, raw material cost, design and innovation, and sustainability concerns. We'll walk through it in detail. The most obvious part, which we've all been talking, regardless of the industry that it is a circular economy. The furniture needs to use recycled products. The furniture needs to have a green transportation system to reach your homes. The furniture needs to have end-of-life plan so that they don't end up in landfills. So what are the key drivers to a circular economy? It would be legal regulations, which is obviously always the place where it really starts, in spite of what we have all spoken about it having to come from within. Unless there is a legal regulation to it, nothing really sees it. Nobody goes and weighs that pro and con there. Availability of technology. You can have the best intentions, but if you don't have technology to support you, of course it cannot move forward. Sustainability in supply chain management. Product circularity potential. So this means by design, when you're designing a product, by design you design it in such a way that it actually has an end of life use. So that is an important component in circular economy and the consumer attitudes towards the circular economy. And skipping this, the company that I want to focus is Steelcase. Steelcase is a Michigan-based company that is into office space furniture. We talk about chairs, tables, space divisions and all, almost 111 years old, and one of the design leaders and thought leaders in this space. So, you know, all of us here have been talking about how ESG is coming to the forefront, but this is one company that has been into it since at least 25 to 30 years. One of the, just going here. This is one of those companies that claim to be carbon neutral simply because of their processes as well as because of the offsets that they do. The emissions of these products are offset by projects like renewable energy portfolio, forest conservations, in the social aspect of changing lifestyles, and even they sponsor some in the Delhi electric metro system. So it's over the, these are in South America, that is in Africa, and this is Asia. So they kind of offset all the carbons that they produce in this. If you look at this side, these are where the carbons get into the production of the chairs, and this is how they try to offset it to get a zero carbon emission product. So if these are some of the products that they have, and if you buy one of these products, these are in dollars, really expensive and not something that you might consider for a day-to-day thing. But then there is offset to everything, like I mentioned. And I'm going to focus on one chair, Think. Think is an iconic sustainable design. It is the first product in the world to have a cradle-to-cradle certification. And and it is a product, I'm not saying only chairs, any product that has ever happened, this is the first one. It is 95% recyclable by weight. Most of its components, about 30% of its components come from recycled, reused material. And that doesn't mean there is any compromise on your comfort. You're paying something like $500 to $600 for the single chair. So you expect it to perform. And so it does perform. But as much as it's good for your body while you're sitting on it, it is good for the planet as well. These are the certifications for the life cycle analysis. The materials, like I told you, are about 28% recycled. There are emissions that are low, but the production phase uses water control, emission control and such. Transport phase is again, because it's produced for the American markets in the US and for the Asian markets in Malaysia. There is some transport available, and the use stage is perhaps the least threatening to the environment because it's just sitting at your home and you're using it. There are no volatile emissions. You're good. And the end of use phase becomes more important. It is designed to be responsibly disposed. This chair comes with the instruction that says you can split it into 5 different components: plastic, fabric, recycled metal, and you can dispose it accordingly. So in conclusion, Steelcase as a company and Think as a product are into most of their ESG goals, but there's always scope for more. Think is a flagship product of Steelcase, but they have about hundreds of brands and SKUs in their list. So it just because you cannot sit on the glory of one, there is so much more to go. When I look at their ESG document, they have about 66% women on their board. Gender diversity tick, racial diversity tick, but executive position is only 33%. But they have a wonderful case study here. Their Pune plant run a program called Women of Steel in 2021. And as a result, where pre-2021 there were 22% women on the shop floor. And post the implementation of this program, 60% of the employees on the shop floor are women, doing non-traditional roles which were earlier done by men. So yes, there is more. Circular by Steelcase is an initiative that they had undertaken in the European countries to reuse used furniture, make it good, renovate, restore, and sell it at a lower price. So if you want to own a chair that is reused but at a lesser scope, they have this. This is only in the European market now. We hope it goes into global markets because almost 9 million tons of furniture go to the landfill every year. And of course, learn from competition. This is I'm the last one. Learn from competition. So there is a competitor to Steelcase called Herman Miller. They collect what is called water-bound or ocean-bound plastics. So the plastics that are meant to end up in your ocean and seas water is collected, recycled and used in their furniture. And then there are fabrics that are used in chairs that are 100% recyclable. So scope is always there. I just picked up this product because everybody talks to go from 0 to 100. I'm showing you a product that's literally at 99 and telling you that there is a way to go up to 200. Thank you so much for your attention.
Any questions, please? 100 to 200. So questions were answered there. So moving to the next part, as desired, I will be inviting Vice President, Chamber of Commerce, Srimati Pratima Dhon. Before I invite her formally on the stage, I will have a small introduction. She has been a renowned student right from her school days to college, and no doubt she has come up to the Vice President role where she is guiding the next generation people in achieving the unachievable. And rightly she is here on the forum to when the deliberation of next impossible looking topic ESG is happening. She has been awardee of Yash Damini Puraskar, and without making any further delay, I will request ma'am to come on the stage and address please. We'll invite guest, chief guest sir.
PWD to the chamber. Thank you sir for coming and spending a valuable time. One very important observation we have been making of Honorable Minister is he spends a lot of time on technical discussions also, which is very rare. Thank you sir. And he always has some input when he gives, because we attended one in Taj Vivanta Miramar recently, and a lot of valuable inputs were given by the minister. It also announced one important deposit recovery scheme which is going to, I think, legislate soon. So we'd like to hear from him on that also. So without wasting much time, I now request our Vice President of Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Pratima Dhod, for her address, please.
I'm sorry. Members on the days, that is, good evening, respected invitees. Mr. Nilesh Kabra, Honorable Minister for Environment, Law and Judiciary. Ms. Harsha Saxena, MD, CSR, and all the participants gathered here today. Well, Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the apex industry association of Goa, representing business, trade and commerce in Goa. The Chamber's principal role is to promote the business interests of its members, as well as to provide all the necessary support, logistics, to sustain the business modules. It also regularly works towards policy advocacy and making recommendations to the government bodies on effective implementation of policies governing the local industry. We are all aware that although sustainability reporting in India is at its initial stage in the country, the last decade has seen a number of dramatic changes for the better. This is in terms of the number of companies voluntarily disclosing non-financial information and provisions, frameworks and standards used or mandatory by regulatory authorities. Now bringing us to the relevance of today's topic. This is an opportunity for the Goan industries to take the advantage and be ready for the international investment market. It is known fact that Securities and Exchange Board of India had mandated the top 1,000 listed companies by market capitalization to make filing as per the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting (BRSR) for year 23. In fact, in financial year 22, more than 175 companies reported on the BRSR framework on a voluntary basis. This form of report is aimed at helping Indian companies address issues that are gaining global importance, such as climate change, inclusive growth, diversification of the workforce, and a sustainable environment and society. Hence, it will not be wrong to say that with the BRSR becoming mandatory from this financial year, and a number of stakeholders such as investors and ESG rating providers placing reliance on disclosures made in the BRSR, assurance becomes key for enhancing credibility of disclosure and investor confidence. Businesses have come to realize that their activities have significant impact on the world's ability to achieve climate change goals. In addition, transparent sustainability, disclosures and reporting have been shown to provide businesses with an advantage over peers by ensuring sustainable value generation potential over the long term. Another area where more viability and transparency is requested in ESG disclosures by supply chain participants of companies. The regulator has recommended for expanding the disclosure norms for ESG funds and on measures that may be brought in to improve transparency with a particular focus on mitigation of risks of mis-selling and greenwashing and other related areas. Similarly, there are many more aspects of the said regulations and importance of ESG reporting in the corporate world that were discussed in today's meeting. As a representative of a strong 115-year-old apex industry body in Goa, I would like to state that the gold companies support this initiative, and we at GCCI are working consciously to integrate the concepts of the ESG and contributing positively to the society as well as developing our business hand in hand. The significance of environmental, social and governance reporting can be better understood by analyzing the following growth parameters: growth in revenue, enhancing public image, increasing employee productivity, and reducing costs and risks. Mining and tourism sector have primarily supported the livelihood of the state for centuries, and local companies engaged in both the activities have time and again actively contributed to the environmental social responsibilities towards the local community. Global studies show that companies inculcating ESG into core business practices outperform their competitors. Lastly, we are glad to collaborate with IICSR for such as this today for the benefit of local industry. It is the need of the hour that the young generation who want to develop their future in the corporate world are trained in this topic. The Indian education system needs to impart know-how on the new field, which is why today we are gathered today, and we have invited the academia and some students as well. I thank all the stakeholders for giving me this opportunity to speak in today's meeting. Thank you and God bless you.
Now as we come to the last part of the proceedings, before we proceed any further, I request Shrimati Pratima Dor ma'am to give to Chief Guest, Honorable Minister of Environment, Nilesh Kabral. Also, I will request Ms. Asha. Now we are. I will be announcing the names. May I request the. Next will be Hemnath Harsh.
Okay, I'm requesting our chief guest to kindly distribute the certificates, Honorable Minister, Mr. Nilesh Kabral. The first is Hemant Harshan. Is Hemant Harshan here? Here, Chitanand Lodi. Sujit Kotian. Mr. Sujit Kotian. Venu Tiwari. Venu Tiwari is there. Kavita. Nitin Mishra. And Mr. Pradeep Kushwaha. Tejaswini, you. Amrendra Pal Singh. Vinod Kumar. Abhirami A. Sundaresan Jayamurthy. Venugopal R. And Anne Davis. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's now time to hear from our chief guest, the Honorable Minister Nilesh Kabra.
On the occasion of distribution of certificates and deliberations on environmental, social and governance ESG goals. For this function we have Vice Chairman Madam Don, Mr. Sandesh, we have IICSR, Harsha, all other degrees of the dais. But to speak of today's event, I was there for almost 2 hours, listening to all the young ones telling about various aspects. And I'm sure that whatever IICSR has decided to have a master's in environmental, social governance, ESG goals is something I think each one will have to vie for. And when I say vie for, they must be really wonderfully well deserving people who want to do this part of sustainable goals which are there for the industry or the people and the country to follow. Well, as I was sitting and understanding each one of you, expressing yourself in various ways within that 7 minutes or 10 minutes time given to you, it was good to see you present a lot of things, important things. And I'm sure that the people around like you, the sustainable goals will be easier to be achieved over the time. And I'm sure that the Sandeshas are asked me, what is the government doing to have sustainable goals? But I am actually, this is my 4th year as an environment minister, I am fed up telling people that you have to dispose garbage properly. And that is why we have to find different ways. And that is why now the session is starting from Tuesday. There is 1 month assembly session. And we always have contradiction between the state and the central laws. And environment laws are always contradictory. But fortunately we had laws before the environment laws had come in the center. So I am tweaking a small legislation where there is, I think Mahesh must have told before me coming as Pollution Control Board Chairman, that no more teaching, no more training, people know what is good and bad. Now it emphasizes on asking people more money for what the product they have to pay. So if this product costs 10 rupees, I'm going to ask 15 rupees. That you bring back the product after you use it, you take your 5 rupees, or you throw it and will give the person who recovers it 5 rupees. So this is how the deposit scheme, I know it's going to be very tough to implement it in the state of Goa, but somewhere we have to make a start. And that is why on this model, like when we say all this, see plastic, I always make a statement, I have never said you should not use plastic. Plastic is, today wherever you are, you will see plastic everywhere. How are we going to stop using that, I don't know. But yes, after using it, where do you take it into? Like single-use plastic when we say, water bottles when you give, you have single-use plastic bag. There's so many other single-use things which we do, like that is your packaging of a product. There's so many things which are there. So like that, we have decided MLPs is the biggest challenge for us. And when we say we have a circular economy, we find that wherever there is a place to be disposed of or to be taken back and he or she gets something in return, that circular economy is working well. Like PET bottles, if you go to see, the PET bottles are recovered from the rag pickers. I mean, they help the government in doing a lot of things what normally people don't do. So now here comes that deposit referral scheme which we want to introduce. It's very simple that every product sold in Goa, I have not come to the diapers and the pampers and menstruals and pads right now. Because in my constituency where I have been collecting door-to-door garbage for almost 14 years continuously after doing it, and almost 12 years free of cost for 40% of my population. Still now my 14 years or 15 years what I am collecting is also free of cost for 50% of the people. But still I am not happy. And that is why today when I collect garbage, you come to know, because the state of government in my own constituency we have put a very nice plant which already started and not inaugurated. We also have now forums of disposal, like medical waste can be disposed. Now we are going to start wood waste in the sense, whatever waste. So we have set up an ecosystem where waste can be treated. So now when we say all this, now it comes to the collection part of it, which is very bad in the state of Goa. Each panchayat body or the municipality, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them have failed in their social responsibility of elected members, because I think they are the people ultimately at the grassroots level has to focus on the collection point of it, and that is why they have failed, and that is why the deposit scheme, deposit refundable scheme is going to be introduced shortly. Well, all the brands are going to be made compulsory. Now, when I make an announcement here, I am not saying it's going to be easy for me, but I have to make a start. And that is why every product has sold in Goa. Like we have, if you see alcohol bottles, only is selling in Goa. If alcohol can be sold only in Goa and not in other parts of the country, when you make a manufacturer makes a bottle, why can't the other products also be on the similar line? This is my question to the manufacturers. So if the alcohol content bottles, the bottle itself has a branding and says only to be sold in Goa because of different parameters of rates, different excise rules before a different thing. So let us start at the products being sold in Goa will have a deposit refundable scheme. People who are sensitized and people who feel that they should be also responsible. I'm not saying I'm going to change my statement from future when I start this, but I'm not going to say that don't use plastic. I never said that, because that becomes a hypothetical statement, because whatever we are doing today, even what I have on my body today, I think 40% will be plastic on myself. So I can't make that statement. Let us be proactive in a different way on a deposit. Like I said, we are going to have a lot of people involved in collection point. And when we say deposit, because once you use a single use, let us say that you use a PET bottle for drinking water, normally don't use it again. But when you have 10 rupees, when you give the bottle back, I think that is what we desire to do. Now if I don't want my 10 rupees, then I just told it, that somebody who collects it from somebody get that 10 rupees and we get it very clean and which can be used for recycling. So that is the concept. But I have seen in my collection of garbage, almost 14 years in my life, from 18 years of political history of mine, I have noticed that people are not bothered. Even if I collect it from my constituency free of charge, the segregation part also becomes difficult. And then we have the garbage collectors who have to literally segregate so that they are disposing, and then by that time it gets the value of the particular recyclable product is wasted. So that is why today I have decided that in the legislative assembly which is going to have from Monday, we are going to introduce the bill. The more because today the marketing companies, any MNCs or any manufacturers finding volume sale, the sizes are diminishing. Bottles are becoming so small and plastic sachets are becoming very even smaller. So we have to, because these are not returnable, it becomes it becomes a headache for you to pick up such a small packet or on all those bases. You are all aware of what I am talking about. So more the smaller, the more the deposit. This is what I am going to focus on. The larger the product, the lesser the deposit. And that's how we have to act on it, because people, whoever are not responsible in taking care of their own products, what they use, I think that deposit scheme will be important for us to do. And for that, if GCCA is welcome to help me in getting this done. And I think there will be a lot of flack for me from many MNCs, where there will be a lot of resentments and a lot of things where they will try not to do. And that is why GCCA, since it's a very old, one of the oldest things, is not to stop anybody from manufacturing. See, every manufacturing company has a consumer, otherwise they would have to stop manufacturing. That is the basic product. So whichever manufacturing company is there, they have a consumer in mind and the product is going to the consumer. Otherwise, who will make why will be there in manufacturing? So that is why let us be very open and say that yes, whoever the consumer is has to be responsible. Let us put it the other way around. It's not to hurt any manufacturer. It is for the person who consumes to be more responsible. This is the focus point, I think, from today all should be focused. The government today has decided to focus on the consumer himself directly instead of manufacturer, because I have seen that in the products of when you have EPR model, it's totally failed model. I don't believe in that model. I say it directly, openly, because it does not lead to any circumstances. Even the circular model, what was EPR formed for, does not function in Goa at least. I have been trying to see how it can be functioning. It is not. It just it's not happening the way I want it to happen, or it should, it's not happening the way it should be functioning on. So that is why this DSR model, deposit scheme, refundable DRS model, deposit refundable scheme, is going to start shortly in Goa, and I require all of you, because all of you are part of the environment, social governance. That is why we are all here today. And GCCI also has to be part of it. And that is why this will be legislated shortly, and we will be starting it shortly. The rates, the things will take time, because initially, as I said, it is going to be taking me time, and I have to put my foot down to see that the things are done properly. The second thing I would like to say is GCCI is always there. It's a non-profit organization. I mean, members contribute and they help the state also in various things. And I'm sure that in what I have made a statement, it's not, I was told that they want to contribute as BW Minister in putting the landscape of Goa in a better shape. I'm open to that. Right now, the roads are still being done, I was explaining. And we have spaces where we have nothing to do in the future, acquired for many years back, and they're lying idle, or maybe quarters where we are in depleting state. Because today, nobody wants those quarters because their HRIs are much higher. Because normally in a government setup, when the 7th pay commission, they receive more HRA, and if they take a quarter, their HRA is minus. So that is why nobody wants to take a quarter, because with the same amount, when they buy a flat, it becomes free over a period of time. Out of 100 such accommodation, I think hardly 10% of the accommodation is used, and nobody wants to use it in future. So all these areas where we have, I will take your support as a greening nature, what we want to say. Highways also will come subsequently when we finish demarcating the lands which are there. So as a non-profitable organization who have been here for so many years, I can see all their photographs even before I was born. And they have contributed, each one has contributed to this state, and wherever the state has gone to, I think it's gone because of people like all of you. So I think with your involvement, we'll be able to achieve a lot of good things. Well, as far as IRS, CSR, I mean, they have just started 9 months back here in education field. Even though it is there other parts of India, 2010 from 2010. I wish them all the best, and maybe they are students or they are part of the faculty or as a team. They can be also part of the reforms what we want to bring to Goa. Goa is a very small state. It's easier to help to understand something here. And as we are part of the government, Honorable Chief Minister always wants things to start from Goa. And I always say that the central government, whatever schemes they bring for the state, you know, they bring a reform scheme for the entire country. We don't get 1 rupee of the schemes. Because we have gone much ahead of what the schemes they want to do in part of other part. And I have always been very open in my discussion with Honorable Prime Minister or even the central ministers that whatever schemes you derive, you try to hurt the states who have achieved already. You should bring in schemes which encourage them to make even more better. So this is how we have less share of the central share when they come in the form of scheme. But anyhow, let us talk about the future of Goa. And as we are all knowing that I am very fortunate to be part of the administration when Mr. Manoj Parrikar was there. Not that I am not fortunate when Mr. Pramod is there, but when Mr. Parrikar was there, he had put in this garbage disposal plant. And I always liked, as I said, 14 years I have been collecting garbage from my constituency. And I always wanted Goa to be garbage free. But still then, it is still not happening the way, because we have got almost 25 times the population from outside the state coming here because of various reasons of tourism or whatever the reasons, and that becomes a problem for the state. But it's okay, everybody has to come to Goa. I will come, 40% of the population, no problem. But how to dispose the garbage is where we started. And today, we say Indore, I have been to Indore myself, no doubt. They have got so much man force to collect garbage, that's why it's called cleaners. But disposable part, I can challenge them. I can, in front of the media, whoever is going to report, if they come to Goa, the disposable part of garbage is fantastic in Goa. We have established a plant in Saligaon almost 6-7 years back, where I can claim that we have zero inert. Zero inert is something which Indore does not have. I will be very open to you. Government gave it. And that inert also now we are finding a solution, whatever small quantity of disposal. I mean, they dispose almost 150 to 170 tons per day, small plant per day, but they are operating for 7 years, continuously 6 years, this is the 7th year. They don't have any landfill. And that is why today what we say that a similar plant has come in my constituency. Prime Minister has visited, all the top leaders have visited. Today that technology is going to be repeated in other countries, I mean other states in the country. And that is why, as I remember, when CTEC, Sewage Disposable, the company which was an Austrian company, there was just the first plant in Goa, put in Satiri. Today we have 2,000 and 3,000 or 3,500 plants all over India. So I think keeping this in mind, deposit refundable scheme, if we introduce, the country will follow. Thank you, God bless you.
So for those wonderful insights, especially the deposit refund scheme, I think is very essential for the state of Goa. We now request our Vice President. And requesting Harshaji to present a memento to Pratima. Sincere thanks to the Honorable Minister for sparing his valuable time and coming here on a Saturday evening and spending time with us. Thank you, sir, for being with us. We thank IISCR for having this wonderful presentations. The presentations were of good quality and I request you to kindly share them with us so that we can use it for our chamber activities. We can also give it, share with all our members also. Special thanks to all of you for specially coming here and witnessing this dissertation by the IIS students, and thanks to the GCCI staff for helping us in organizing this event. Tea is served and requesting all of us to kindly join us for tea. A group photograph, please. Thank you.